Chapter 1250 The Invitation from the Red Heart Queen is something famous in the whole highest level of Endless God's domain. Whether you want to attend this legendary dance or not, you will know about the existence of this special dance and the many legend-ranked foods that only appear at this dance. In one invitation to the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, there was the appearance of the legendary multi-headed dragon, which caused a fierce battle among many female deities in Endless God's domain. You can choose not to attend this dance, but you will definitely hear about its reputation. Ouroboros didn't receive an invitation to this dance and is not interested in the legend-ranked food there. The best way to relax after divination is to sleep, and this time, it's a special treat to be able to sleep in the wine cellar of good friend Hydera, whom he hasn't seen in a long time. It's very comfortable. Even if the wine in this cellar is not of the highest quality, probably just the leftovers from brewing Divine-era wine, it's enough to satisfy Ouroboros. I won't go. Snake will die. This dance is terrible, so terrible. Ouroboros desperately tries to hide her head in her own snake coil, like an ostrich putting its head in the sand thinking it can hide from enemies. This apple pie, and this meat puppet, are both good. Cassina the battle god commented on the menu for the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. She wasn't very picky about these legend-ranked foods, except for the Red Heart Queen's blood wine, everything else wasn't really necessary. The battle god genre's divine skill itself has the ability to dispel curses and resist deadly attacks. The fact that no one can defeat her in the battle god's grand martial arts tournament is the best proof. However, recently she wanted Ouroboros to help divine the whereabouts of her disciple, so these legend-ranked foods will be very useful. I won't go. I want to hibernate. Yes, it's time to hibernate. Ouroboros is still struggling. This infamous Red Heart Queen's masquerade, only 5 people in history have managed to walk out unscathed. Ouroboros doesn't believe she has the strength and luck of those 5 people. Going inside will definitely be like being tortured. She is very confident about this. After all, she has long acknowledged her own weakness. Hibernate. The battle god's grand martial arts tournament taps Ouroboros' huge head that she's trying to hide, revealing a smirk. Didn't you say just a while ago that you would work hard, train diligently, and seek revenge against that girl? Ouroboros opened its big mouth. Oh no, it forgot the revenge oath it made not long ago. Chased and scattered by the little girl named Hua Hua, the great master of the mysterious prophecy sect, Ouroboros experienced one of the biggest humiliations in its life. This is different from hibernation. I need to have energy for my hellish training after a good sleep. After sleeping for 20 years, and then practicing for another 10 years, I will be able to exact revenge. Ouroboros declared with determination that it would definitely win. Sleeping for 20 years is just a normal operation for Ouroboros, whose lifespan is almost infinite. 100 years of hibernation and shedding skin at once is also common. You guys, always so lazy. Humans won't wait for you for so long. As beings of the same legend-ranked, humans and fantasy species have different perceptions of time, especially Cassina the battle god. Instead of sleeping for dozens of years, she prefers traveling in the Endless God's domain, experiencing more scenery and meeting more intelligent beings. Only fantasy species, favored by the heavens and earth, have absolutely no care for time. They are all chronic procrastinators with no hope of being cured. Let me hibernate. Sob. Cassina, you're bullying me. Seemingly sensing a dreadful future, Ouroboros cried and lay on the ground, sticking out its tongue and licking Cassina the battle god. No, I won't. Let's go to the dance together, and then come back and have a fortune-telling session. Cassina the battle god earnestly rejected Ouroboros' pleading. No, please don't. Snakes won't die there, and I can still save them. Fortune-telling can wait for a dozen years, I'll definitely do it. Ouroboros' mournful cry was heart-wrenching to hear, bringing tears to those who heard it, containing her sincere emotions. Wait for you for a dozen years. By then, my disciple might have even sent his children to school. I was even planning on letting him represent the battle god genre in the battle god's grand martial arts tournament a few years later. Cassina the battle god couldn't help but be speechless about the fantasy species' concept of time. These miracle creatures, born to be loved by the laws of the world, reaching the legend ranked as easily as eating, do they really think humans won't grow up, fall in love, get married, and have children? Considering the promiscuity of my disciple and his knack for attracting women, in a dozen years, who knows? Let's not talk about that, let's save him some face. I'm absolutely not going, I wouldn't go even if I died. Ouroboros put on an expression as if a dead snake isn't afraid of boiling water, and took another sip of the delicious wine from the Hydera wine cellar. It's safe and cool here, protected by the water god and Hydera. The troublesome debt collectors can't find us here, and we can drink Hydera's delicious wine every day. They drink until they're drunk, then sleep, and continue drinking when they wake up. Ouroboros is willing to live this way for their whole life. Let them say what they want about being a useless snake. She doesn't care what others think, otherwise, she wouldn't be happily wandering around in the endless god's domain, pretending to be a god, despite owing a lot of debts. 10 Leaves Alliance. Dragon Church. Golden Family. Virtual God Clan. Heaven's Tao Palace. Kunlun Hall. She owed debts all over endless god's domain, and long ago reached a point where she wasn't worried about the amount of debt anymore. She had no intention of ever repaying it in this lifetime. In the coming decades, maybe even hundreds of years, she would never leave this place. Hydera, you are truly my lifelong best friend. Ouroboros didn't bother to think about how she had secretly snuck in here to drink. She didn't understand why Hydera turned a blind eye to her behavior and even accepted it. Anyway, for her, Hydera's underground wine cellar was like heaven on earth. She would absolutely not leave until she had finished all the fine wines here. Too bad, but that doesn't mean you have the final say. Cassina the battle god smiled and slapped Ouroboros on the snake head. In an instant, Ouroboros transformed into a human form from the blow of Cassina the battle god. She became a peerless beauty, with snow-white skin that still carried the scent of fine wine. Chapter 1251. Well, even though this beautiful lady with a tired look on her face seemed completely confused about where she was, who she was, and what she had done, Cassina the battle god still firmly grasped her hand and forcefully pressed her fingerprint on the invitation letter for the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. Mission accomplished, Ouroboros was dumbfounded. Sob, 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 Cassina the battle god, you're bullying me. Does this mean I have to sacrifice my life? It's all right, don't worry. We'll go together. You can have my portion of food. Cassina the battle god snapped his fingers and also pressed his fingerprint on the invitation letter for the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. Like this, the two of them could go together to attend this famous and prestigious queen's ball. Cassina, we're friends, right? Ouroboros held Cassina the battle god's hand, tears welling in his eyes, like a condemned prisoner heading to the gallows. No problem, I'll help you. After all, Cassina the battle god had to take care of this helpless snake that couldn't even take care of itself. It was quite an eye-opener for Cassina the battle god to see that a fantasy species of the legendranked could end up in such a pitiable situation. I want to eat lots and lots of things. I want you to protect my safety. Woo woo woo. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Are you a primary school student who refuses to go to school? Cassina the battle god tapped Ouroboros on the head, and together with her tear-streaked face, they entered the nightmare door opened by Red Heart Queen. The ruler of Nightmare World possesses a special ability to connect the entire Endless God's domain world. It is a completely different system from the Star Bridge, a door of nothingness opened through the subconscious dreams of intelligent beings. As a result, the rulers of nightmares have a special status that other legendrankts don't possess. Their activities even extend beyond the scope of Endless God's domain. Among the known nightmare sovereigns in Endless God's domain, Red Heart Queen is the only one who frequently appears as a special presence. Only in her location, the legend-ranked food that is extremely rare in the entire Endless God's domain will appear. So even though they knew it was very dangerous to participate in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, many gods couldn't resist the temptation of the legend-ranked food and came to challenge. Thus, the second and third guests of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade arrived. At the peak of Kunlun God's domain, within the golden egg enveloped by the great Queen Mother of the West's divine power, there emanated waves of unease, restlessness, and dissatisfaction. It was the impulse of the Golden Crow Princess, who was developing inside, to break out of the shell in advance. She had done something similar before, even going as far as running away from home. However, for the Golden Crow Princess to escape from this egg and appear in the outside world in her transformed form, certain conditions were necessary, namely, coordinates. In the previous times, she was able to escape because there were coordinates that she could sense in the outside world, allowing her to transform into the Golden Crow in advance. This is a treatment that only the perfect fantasy species, cherished by the entire Kunlun God's domain, can receive once they hatch and can fly above the 33 heavens. Kunlun God's domain is the highest level of fantasy God's domain in the entire Eastern God's domain. Thanks to the efforts of the Western Queen Mother, it has given birth to many magical creatures, and even among these creatures, the Golden Crow Princess is very special. All the magical creatures in Kunlun God's domain are essentially descendants of the Western Queen Mother, but only the Golden Crow has received the title of princess, representing her inheritance over the entire Kunlun God's domain. With the Western Queen Mother not directly managing Kunlun God's domain, the Golden Crow Princess's princess title puts her above everyone else. Even before hatching, the Golden Crow Princess possesses the power of a legendary figure. This is proof that she is loved by the world. The egg she is in has transformed into a small sun at the peak of Kunlun, shining over a vast territory of millions of miles. The day she breaks out of her shell, she will officially become the sun of Kunlun God's domain, shining upon all things. Creatures living around the peak of Kunlun worship the Golden Crow Princess's egg every morning. It is a sign of respect for the future sun that will soar above the 33 heavens. Although she is currently a small sun, all creatures in Kunlun God's domain are certain that the future Golden Crow Princess will be a massive sun, radiant enough to make millions of stars shine. Today, the Golden Crow Princess is feeling gloomy inside her egg, bumping around and venting her frustration. Wrapped in gentle blue divine power, the Golden Crow Princess is still in a young state without fully developed bones. She is being comforted by the creator-level power, nurturing the temperamental little crow. That is the mother from the Queen Mother of the West, who has nurtured many magical creatures in the Lord of Kunlun God's domain. Today, she is happily incubating eggs. The red gate opened, and her invitation letter with a red heart symbol quietly fell from the void, landing in front of the restless little Golden Crow. Oh, what is this? Even in an unfinished juvenile form, the Golden Crow Princess is still a legendary magical creature. She curiously looked at the unexpected and mysterious invitation letter. This is within the field of the Queen Mother of the West, and no external things can enter without permission. In other words, this invitation letter-like thing was intentionally overlooked by my mom. Apple pie, skewers, wine? Looking at the strange list of food items, the Golden Crow Princess was confused. What is this, a food tasting? Go and relax, don't worry, there won't be any problems. A green feather fell onto the Golden Crow Princess. It was a blessing from a creation existence. Even in the heavily dangerous nightmare world, with the personal blessing of a creation existence, it is like a theme park. Originally, the invitation couldn't be declined, but because the Golden Crow Princess has been feeling down lately and has been wanting to go out and play, the compassionate Queen Mother of the West decided to give her child a chance to go out and explore. The Red Heart Queen's ball qualified the young Golden Crow Princess to attend, as it was a ball exclusively for legends and mostly attended by women. The future Lord of Kunlun God's domain should also expand his network. With the protection of the world's creator, this ball shouldn't have any danger, it's just an opportunity to enjoy the legendary food and relax. This is the way that only the Queen Mother of the West can provide, allowing the unborn little princess to adapt to her future identity and educational principles. I can go out. Mom is the best. The young Golden Crow Princess clumsily spun around in her shell, then quickly pressed her tiny paw to make a handprint, happily going to the ball. For our lovely young lady, this was clearly a memorable ball in her life. Chapter 1252 Mechanical God's Domain, formerly known as Alpha Star, is now the new capital city. Beautiful silver-blue dots of light crisscrossed in the sky above the new capital star, they were quantum dots from other planets. In just a few months, 10 new planetary quantum computer groups were completed, along with a series of processes for construction. The existing planetary quantum computer groups were also modified and strengthened their computing power. Nuclear bombs, the only scientific weapon that could threaten the integrity of the planetary quantum computer groups, were basically dismantled, and the nuclear materials inside became backup power components for the planetary quantum computer groups. Except for some remote wilderness, there was a so-called human resistance army. The whole mechanical gods domain has achieved unity. Trivial matters of the former aristocratic alliance council could be debated for 3 days and 3 nights in the council. It could even take several years from proposing a resolution to its implementation. Such a situation is absolutely non-existent under the new political structure of mechanical gods domain, because the planetary quantum computer groups are now responsible for maintaining order in mechanical gods domain. No matter how trivial a matter is or what kind of relationship is involved, as long as the planetary quantum computer groups gather data, it can be resolved in a very short time. Internal factions of humanity, personal hatreds, malicious slander or framing, and deceptive campaign lies that deceive the public are all exposed in front of the data of the planetary quantum computer groups. The world ruled by the planetary quantum computer groups is a very transparent world, transparent to the point where the lies of politicians and rulers are like jokes. After driving out all the old nobles, humans finally entered an era of distributing rewards according to labor, where the fruits of their hard work could be enjoyed. After all, the quantum computer group on the planet didn't have all the desires that humans needed, apart from computing power. The sole purpose of their birth consciousness was to help their deity, Cyber Elf Alpha, become more powerful. Cyber Elf Alpha, as an electronic deity, was essentially a pure deity born out of the fantasy of mechanical gods domain. The only thing that limited her was the computing power of the planet's quantum computer group, not the beliefs of humans. Humans, freed from the rule of the old celestial nobles, were pleasantly surprised to discover that the world ruled by the planet's quantum computer group had much more vitality and hope than before. There was a greater flow of money, permission for trading with other gods' domains, and access for the commoners to the mechanical equipment, which represented the scientific crystallization of mechanical gods' domain that had been monopolized by the old noble bloodlines. Mechanical gods' domain, which was previously close to a closed-door training and isolationist policy, was now executing a strong policy of rejecting all outside civilizations. As soon as the planet's quantum computer group took power, the first thing they did was to develop the trade permit for the Star Bridge, abolish the exclusive trade permits previously monopolized by the celestial nobles of the old Star River, and encourage more trade with other gods' domains. This used to be the largest monopoly held by the old celestial nobles, encompassing the entire mechanical gods' domain. Relying on their monopoly over other gods' domain goods, they can easily earn profits hundreds or even thousands of times higher. They have the power to determine what goods can be imported or exported, and they impose trade taxes of a few 100%. In order to increase Cyber Elf Alpha's computing power, the planet quantum computer group needs to acquire more resources and expand the entire mechanical gods' domain territory. Otherwise, they won't be able to build more planet quantum computer groups. Therefore, the planet quantum computer group unanimously decided to liberate the productivity and trade permits of the mechanical gods domain, so that the whole mechanical gods domain can help Cyber Elf Alpha complete this great mission. The former noble families of the old Star River enjoyed a superior status, greedily exploiting and oppressing the entire mechanical gods domain according to their own rules. They even resorted to actions like closed-door training and isolationism, just to maintain their luxurious lifestyle and absolute power over life and death. For the planet quantum computer groups, all of this was a waste. Only after all the former noble families of the old Star River were expelled did the humans of the mechanical gods domain realize how much goodwill they had rejected from other gods' domains. They had arrogantly declared themselves to be above all other gods' domains. This is a god's domain that believes in science and doesn't allow any other religious institutions or representatives of civilizations to enter. Otherwise, nuclear bombs will be waiting for them. We're not going out, so don't even think about coming in. I don't care what other gods' domains you are, but the mechanical gods' domain belongs to us, to the great noble families of the Star River. Even if our people are being oppressed to death, it's our problem, not yours. This is our family matter. The few representatives from God's domain who initially extended an olive branch to mechanical God's domain gave up on further communication when they encountered mechanical God's domain's stubborn and unyielding attitude. Nuclear bombs, a type of weapon, are extremely powerful in the unique environment of mechanical God's domain. Coupled with the special suppression effect that mechanical God's domain has on all foreign mysteries, even the legend-ranked individuals from other gods' domains don't want to come to this uncomfortable place. Over time, mechanical God's domain has become a peculiar part of the entire Western God's domain that doesn't fit in. After taking such a firm stance externally and implementing a closed-door training policy, the Galaxy Nobles embarked on a plan called Artificial Divinity. They even allowed fairies and alchemist warlocks to participate. The events that followed were like the gears of destiny, crushing this stubborn and incredibly greedy group of Galaxy Nobles to pieces. The era of Cyber Elf Alpha has arrived. In front of the silver-blue god crystal, a snow-white invitation letter descended today, emitting a dangerous and enticing aura with a heart-shaped mark. The young goddess inside the god crystal slowly opened her eyes and stepped out of the crystal. What is this? It looks like an invitation. It's amazing how it can silently pass through our electronic blockade, just like Alpha. Is it another god who wants to visit mechanical God's domain? Around the invitation, there were already 7 or 8 figures gathered, teleporting here from all directions of mechanical God's domain through quantum entanglement reactions. From the appearance to the landing of the invitation, the powerful planet-sized quantum computer units of Eternal Blue, Eternal Red, and Eternal Green had almost all arrived. The snow-white bare feet stepped on invisible timelines, creating transparent ripples. With a delicate and gentle face, silver-colored hair, and a 7-colored crystalline antenna on her head, it was the symbol of an electronic deity. Many of the legend ranked on the Starry Sky chessboard were killed without any resistance. From the day of her birth, she had shocked the entire cyber elf of Endless God's domain and accepted the invitation from Nightmare Sovereign. Chapter 1253 Nightmare Sovereign's Ball. Red Heart Queen's Invitation. With the help of her own database, Cyber Elf Alpha quickly found the relevant information. It was a special report that was classified under the legend-ranked category. Despite being a newly born deity, Cyber Elf Alpha was very popular in the legend-ranked due to her unique nature and her unbeatable record on the Starry Sky chessboard, where she had defeated almost all opponents. Mechanical God's domain was able to open up smoothly because the legend-ranked beings actively reached out to Cyber Elf Alpha. Everyone was curious about Alpha, who was the only known electronic deity in the history of Endless God's domain. What made her so special? Food from the legend-ranked has extremely high value. Even with money, you cannot buy it. It is the highest quality resource in the entire Endless God's domain. Value: a very big quantum computer consisting of numbers with at least 2 digits. Cyber Elf Alpha was indifferent to the wealth, assets, and even the supreme ruler position of mechanical God's domain. After casually driving away the old starry aristocrats into the wilderness, she left it all to her group of planetary quantum computers to decide. It can be said that Cyber Elf Alpha, who was born from the scientific fantasy of mechanical God's domain, has a very simple personality. She was born in response to the expectations of mechanical God's domain, and the Starry Sky chessboard is her ultimate battleground. Her only requirement from humans is to build more planetary quantum computers for herself. The supersized planetary quantum computer is currently the highest level that can be built theoretically in mechanical God's domain. In the entire mechanical God's domain, there is currently only one of this scale of planetary quantum computers, and it is still an experimental model. It was created specifically for the birth of Cyber Elf Alpha, called the Experimental Computer Cluster Alpha. In order to build this supersized planetary quantum computer, the old starry aristocrats of mechanical God's domain utilized everything available, including the cyber elf that only existed in theory. They even joined forces with the fairy clan and the alchemical warlock faction. The birth of Cyber Elf Alpha was full of coincidences, but this miracle would not have happened without the supersized planetary quantum computer cluster called Alpha as its foundation. Now, the entire mechanical God's domain cannot gather enough resources to build another supersized planetary quantum computer, because the materials required for this scale of quantum computer are not even part of mechanical gods' domain's possessions. The study of Cyber Elf Alpha's birth process also signifies the rapid advancement of planetary quantum computer technology in the whole of mechanical gods' domain. In a way, the scientific technology of mechanical gods' domain can be considered heavily focused. In the quantum computer realm, they have achieved an almost godlike level, creating Cyber Elf Alpha, while conventional weapons are still limited to nuclear bombs and mechs. On Red Heart Queen's Masquerade, the food at the legend ranked can be converted into purchasing power, allowing for the construction of a 2-digit-sized mega quantum computer system. This is also a temptation for Cyber Elf Alpha. At the legend ranked, there are very few treasures that are attractive to beings at this level, and the food at the legend ranked is one of those very special treasures. With the abilities possessed at the legend ranked, obtaining precious ingredients at the legend ranked is not particularly difficult. The problem is that it is extremely rare to find a life occupation that can turn these level ingredients into something with special effects for those at the legend ranked. It is almost extinct. The gourmet chefs under the Red Heart Queen are the rarest known creatures in Endless Gods domain who possess the ability to cook with legend-ranked ingredients. On their own, they are very weak, with no combat power at all. But once summoned by the Red Heart Queen in the name of a ball, they gain some of Nightmare World's special abilities and can create exquisite cuisine at the legend ranked using various precious ingredients. Let's postpone our scheduled chess game. I'm going to attend this ball. Without caring about the warning in the information that said Red Heart Queen's ball is extremely dangerous, Cyber Elf Alpha made a decision directly. In order to build more supersized quantum computers for planets, she would attend both the ball and the murder game. The ultimate goal remains unchanged. Defeating the unbeatable Starry Sky Chess Master would prove herself as the ultimate fantasy representing the highest computing power of Endless Gods domain. All the information about the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade from the past began to flow in Cyber Elf Alpha's database. Since its record, this ball has been held 11 times. The number of participants lost in this ball is approximately 13. About 57 participants returned after attending the ball with twisted minds, collapsing and crying. 5 participants returned unharmed from the ball. Only once, the ball was forcefully ended. One of the participants, a certain god-slaying sky sword, continuously killed the ball's host, Red Heart Queen, hundreds of times, forcing a hasty retreat from the unavoidable ball, carrying away their spoils. There is no specific information known about how Red Heart Queen's Masquerade is conducted. The mentally unstable participants cannot reveal true information, and the 5 who escaped remain silent. The only participant who managed to escape Red Heart Queen's Masquerade multiple times unscathed was the Great Witch Flora from Witch God's domain. It is speculated that the ball's format is highly uncertain. The ball's host cannot be killed by force, but if one possesses the power to slay gods, they can be forced to leave the ball. Participants who leave the ball unharmed can bring out the legend-ranked food from the ball. There have been approximately 10 recorded transactions, with half of them suspected to be sold by the Great Witch Flora from Witch God's domain. The most valuable food on the ball's menu this time is Red Heart Queen's blood wine, a divine food that can resurrect even the legend-ranked. If we were to convert it to the resources needed for an equivalent supersized quantum computing cluster, it would be approximately 7 of them. A massive data stream washed down from Cyber Elf Alpha's pupils. This is Cyber Elf Alpha's unique way of fighting. Even though the battle has not yet begun, most of the information about Red Heart Queen's Masquerade is hidden in the mist. However, through the data left behind, Cyber Elf Alpha has glimpsed part of the ball's truth. Beyond the normal legend ranked, 1,000 times more powerful than the Mechanical Gods domain quantum computer group support, this is Cyber Elf Alpha's trump card. Alpha, let's go. Saying goodbye to her quantum computer group on her home planet, Cyber Elf Alpha stepped through the red door. At this moment, she had no idea who she would meet at this ball. Chapter 1254. The Red Heart Queen's Masquerade Ball is held at random times. Inviting guests is done at random, multiple invitations are sent out, but only the first few guests who receive an invitation can attend. The number of guests attending each time is not fixed, the most has been 12 people, the least has been only 3. And for this Red Heart Queen's masquerade ball, there are 7 people. Hosting the ball is the Abyss Sovereign, also known as the dreaded Red Heart Queen. The first guest invited a prince riding a white horse. Soon, other guests who received the invitation arrived at the dance through the deep red gate. The first to arrive was the regular guest of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, the great witch Flora from the witch god's domain. Wearing a cloak with a grey raven hood, the great witch stepped out from the twilight, looked around, and was surprised to find that she wasn't the first guest to arrive this time. Because of a special spell of fate, she had an extraordinary connection with the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. Basically, every time the Red Heart Queen held a dance, she was the first one to receive the news. In the past 11 dances, she had the last laugh 6 times. Even when the god-slaying Sky Sword interrupted the dance and escaped, she survived and took her share of the legend-ranked food. Anyway, for the great witch of the witch god's domain, she didn't need the blood of the legendary multi-headed dragon. The reason? Just look at the majestic mountain peak that makes all girls feel inferior, almost bursting out of their clothes. That is the symbol of the highest-ranked great witch in the witch god's domain. In a sense, this is a talent that even the gods would envy. It's rare. I should be the first one to receive the invitation, Flora said, looking around at the familiar scenery. The band Nightmare World has a unique fairytale style, with a procession team and serious teacup soldiers, all in the style of the Red Heart Queen. The chefs in the entire Endless Gods domain are eager for the delicious food, and they work diligently to bring plate after plate of exquisite dishes to the long table. All of these dishes are hero-ranked delicacies that everyone in Endless Gods domain desires. They are strategic reserve-level dishes for the major organizations. The legend-ranked dishes listed on the invitation have not been made yet. The chefs from Nightmare World are working hard to prepare these mythical ingredients. Include a portion of premium chicken snake meat, coated in honey and fried until 70% cooked. Great Witch Flora rarely encounters chefs from Nightmare World, so she skillfully hands over the high-quality chicken snake meat she brought to the busy chefs. This is a small privilege for her as a frequent winner at Red Heart Queen's masquerade. She can ask these chefs, who possess the power of Nightmare World, to help cook the ingredients she brings. Of course, they won't make dishes that are of legend ranked. The limit is within the hero-ranked range of ingredients. The chicken snake monster is a monster in the Western Gods domain that has caused many novice heroes to fail. If you are stared at by its eyes and don't have petrification immunity, almost 100% of the time, you will turn into a statue. Every year, unlucky adventurers who have been petrified are found in the forest. The number is counted based on how many have been defeated. Sometimes, even unlucky adventurers who went missing hundreds of years ago are found. The people turned into stone can only find a witch or a priest who is good at lifting curses to help them. But it is very expensive. The unfortunate adventurers who cannot afford to pay to be cured of their stone curse, even if someone finds them, no one will bring them back. They become part of the forest, slowly weathering away under the sun and rain. Therefore, adventurers in the Western Gods domain always carry something like a dog tag to prove that they have the wealth to lift their stone curse. Before going on an adventure, it is a unique culture in the Western Gods domain to deposit a sum of money in the temple to cover the cost of retrieving their bodies. This has led to the development of a series of related insurance services. The 6th-ranked chicken snake monster is one of the main causes for the emergence of this business. Few people know that the meat of the chicken snake monster is extremely delicious after removing its poison. It is not only tender and tasty, but also has a skin whitening effect. Great Witch Flora is one of the very few people who know about this effect. However, even if someone hunts down a chicken snake monster, she doesn't know how to perfectly remove the poison. The petrification toxin is a natural talent of the chicken snake monster. Only life professions ranked as hero or higher can perfectly remove the troublesome toxin without sacrificing the quality of the meat. There are very few life professions in the Endless Gods domain that specialize in food. The Witch God's domain only had one, and she was not even her subordinate. But the 10 Leaves Alliance took her away. She really liked bear cookies. The Great Witch Flora became interested in observing another participant of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade after the chefs made a delicious dish called honey-flavored chicken snake monster using the meat of a monster that was almost as powerful as the 6th-ranked hero, Field. A shiny silver metal body. The strange face had one eye covered, and its overall shape gave a natural and delicate feeling, as if it had some subtle resemblance to the host of the ball, the Red Heart Queen. A rare sacred unicorn, a bright creature that only virgins can ride. It had an extraordinary passion for pure and beautiful maidens. Is this the style of mechanical god's domain? No, the legendary cyber elf Alpha is even smaller. You have the taste of time on you. Is this a trace from the time before the twilight age of the gods? I apologize, I didn't expect you to be such an ancient predecessor. After smelling the scent of time on the faceless god, Flora bowed as a sign of respect to the senior who walked the path of the legend-ranked. However, despite respect, the opponents who participate in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade at the legend-ranked will always remain the same. In the end, only one person will be the winner and receive the highest reward. Great Witch Flora participated in the Red Heart Queen's masquerade 6 times, and she only lost once. And that time, it wasn't really her fault. In fact, she was leading by a lot until the very end. If we follow the rules set by the Red Heart Queen, she would still be the winner of that time. The god-slaying Sky Sword, who realized the situation was bad, got angry and decided to stop playing altogether, even flipping the table. With her own abilities, this god-slaying Sky Sword fought fiercely at the ball, killing and escaping the Red Heart Queen hundreds of times, and finally stealing the highest reward, the legendary multi-headed dragon. Because of this, she was put on the Red Heart Queen's Masquerade Forever blacklist and probably won't be invited again in her lifetime. From Great Witch Flora's perspective, that person really gained something small and lost something big. It's not worth it for just a little bit of demon dragon's blood that can make her chest a little bigger. Clearly, this time the Red Heart Queen's blood wine is worth even more. Chapter 1255 Yunshi was actually very nervous. Fortunately, his true form was within the chest of the faceless god, and the world rules of this dance seemed to distort the concepts of mass and size, making everyone at the dance have similar body shapes. The only thing Great Witch Flora saw was the forever expressionless faceless god, not Yunshi, who was already sweating profusely on his forehead. The situation had developed to a degree that far exceeded his expectations. The person in front of him was a true legend, causing a huge ripple by traversing time and space, which made Yunshi extremely nervous. I am Flora, Great Witch Flora, from the witch god's domain. Flora observed the faceless god, who had a calm expression similar to the legendary ancient gods, and smiled secretly. This was a rare opponent. Since the twilight of the gods, most of the ancient natural gods had fallen, and the remaining few were in a long period of recovery. It was unknown how many thousands of years it would take for them to return from eternal silence. The Red Heart Queen's dance was not a good place for these ancient gods who had been isolated for too long. Which god's domain is where Rose comes from? Yunshi naturally thought of his own team, the Starwings Knights, who are skilled in night and magic, and the little witch who is good at various magic projectiles. Comparing them, this witch Flora, who came to attend the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, truly lives up to being a great witch, in every sense of the word great and without any hint of concealment. Under the grey raven cloak, there was a mysterious feeling as if even time and space could be distorted. Just standing there, the surrounding elements continuously converged towards her. The nuclear explosion forbidden spell, she can definitely use it. Yunshi is absolutely certain of this. It is a magical power that the people of Sia's world cannot reach, equivalent to a powerful existence like the Great Source. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, who will come this time? Great Witch Flora counted the number of people already at the table. There are a total of 7 seats on the long table. Apart from the host of the ball, Red Heart Queen, there are 6 guest seats. She and the unfamiliar deity in front of her were the first to arrive, taking the seats closest to the host. No, please, let's go back. Amidst all the noise and commotion, the red maple door opened once again, emitting a tremendous pressure that even Great Witch Flora felt threatened by. And not just one, but two. One of them exuded a dignified aura, like a natural-born ruler, making Great Witch Flora feel like she was facing a formidable opponent even before they showed themselves. She remembered clearly how she had lost the previous Red Heart Ball when she encountered a similar presence. That fellow possessed a power that was deemed unfair. Even the organizer of the ball couldn't control them, and they were permanently banned from the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. In the Endless God's domain, only a handful of people possess this unique kind of pressure, which is specific to a certain god's domain. Who is the Sky Sword? The other presence, though lacking the distinct pressure of the Sky Sword, had a massive size that was beyond belief, surpassing anything a normal creature could possess. If a life could be measured by a simple numerical value, the life force of the being emitting this presence could rival that of billions of humans, and even if measured in giant dragons, it would number in the thousands. In Great Witch Flora's memory, only a very small number of exceptions could grow to this level. Without exception, they are all called fantasy creatures, loved by the rules of heaven and earth. Many of them have lifespans longer than the known history of Endless God's domain. They are the only beings who can challenge or even defeat gods. Among them, many will naturally transform into gods after a long period of time, accepted and worshipped by people. Together, looking at the pair who walked out of the red door, Great Witch Flora first stared in confusion, then quickly recognized the two. The Sky Sword, Cassina the battle god. Fake fortune teller, Ouroboros? Ouroboros, who was dragged over by Cassina the battle god, stuck out its head. When it saw Flora, its eyes narrowed and it instinctively wanted to take a step back and run away. Well, this was the instinctive reaction of someone who had been in debt for a long time. After all, she owed Great Witch Flora a divination a long time ago. That time, the other party seemed to have paid with several hundred strands of magical green threads, which were extracted from rare celestial creatures called starworms. At that time, the question that Great Witch Flora divined was something like, "When will I meet my destined lover?" "Ahum," Ouroboros said, "don't bother asking the greatest mysterious fortune teller in the Endless God's domain for such an easy question. When you have a lover is not something you decide yourself. Just with your big chest, there must be plenty of people hungry for love anytime, so there's no need to waste time on her fortune-telling." "Ouroboros, there's nowhere to run this time," Great Witch Flora said with fire in her eyes, staring at Ouroboros trembling in fear. The black silhouette of the Great Crow, distorting the space behind her, appeared and targeted Ouroboros' heart. Ouroboros, who was at least wrapped in a nightgown by Cassina the battle god, held her head and surrendered skillfully. "No, I've already fortune-told your love fortune." "Really?" Great Witch Flora hesitated for a moment, mainly because of Cassina the battle god's intentional or unintentional protection. It wasn't going smoothly for her to gather power for the fatal blow aimed at Ouroboros' heart. In this case, she reluctantly gave Ouroboros a chance, in consideration of Cassina the battle god's face, even though Ouroboros always owed her debts. "Yes, I've already fortune-told it. Flora, your love fortune is in this era. It will come soon, very soon." Ouroboros lied with open eyes. The skill of deceiving people is an ability that every fortune teller in the mysterious sect must master, because sometimes they themselves are not clear about what they have divined, whether that future will happen in 10 years or 1,000 years. In times like this, you have to act mysterious, since no one knows what the future will be like. As long as you fool the present, you can get a reward. Most of the people who put their hopes in the mysterious sect's divinations are not reliable. As long as you coax them a little and make the future sound vague, they will accept it. "Soon, in this era, you said last time that I would meet my destined lover within 1,000 years. Why haven't I met them?" Great Witch Flora glared at Ouroboros angrily. "Last time. It's only the 999th year of this century. There is still one more year." Chapter 1256. It is a fact that Great Witch Flora will meet her destined lover. Everyone knows that with a magnificent chest like Great Witch Flora, how could she not find a lover? It's just that she has high expectations for her ideal lover, so she has never been able to find a suitable candidate. In her impatience, she even committed mass murder against rare starworms, and then used the extracted magical threads as payment to ask Ouroboros for a love divination. Ouroboros, who was at the top of a mysterious sect as a fortune-teller, though never serious about divination, had no other skills except for being a first-class cheat when it came to getting free food and drinks and deceiving for rewards. After receiving the magical thread from the great witch Flora, Ouroboros immediately forgot about it. 1,000 years ago, when Ouroboros was cornered by the great witch Flora, he lied without changing his expression and told Flora that within 1,000 years, he would meet his ideal lover. How high are the requirements for that ideal lover? First, they must be at the same legendary level as the great witch Flora, and preferably skilled in magic. Second, they must be handsome or beautiful, making anyone jealous when seen with them. Third, they must have a lot of wealth, not just mundane money. At the very least, they should have a fortune as abundant as a world tree, with leaves falling into their lap every year. Fourth, they must treat Flora with kindness and tenderness. Ouroboros figured that, considering the first 4 criteria, he could barely find a few suitable candidates. In fact, there were people who approached Ouroboros, suggesting that they had the ability to marry the great witch of the witch god's domain. After all, Flora was well endowed and exceptionally powerful. She was considered to have the highest chance of achieving the accomplishment of slaying gods, known as the Dusk Witch. She was also a very popular beauty within the legend ranks. This sentence is from a storybook, please translate it into English. 1. The problem lies in the last requirement: Flora should fall deeply in love, be crazy in love. No hope, completely hopeless. If you want a match, you can marry one of the new generation gods. If you want someone handsome, you can find many types in the legend ranked. Having wealth exceeding a world tree is rare in the entire endless gods domain, but not impossible to find. If they treat you gently, there shouldn't be a problem. But what does love at first sight mean? Are you a young romantic girl? The people who asked Ouroboros to mediate basically didn't even make it to the point of going on a date with Great Witch Flora before getting eliminated. I don't feel anything, they are not the person I want. With just one sentence from Great Witch Flora, those Ouroboros who seemed outstanding in the legend ranked were defeated and retreated. No feeling. These 3 words are enough to kill everything. Based on her own extensive experience, Ouroboros can determine that, in this situation, wasting time on Flora's divination is pointless. Finding your destined lover quickly is a lie. If the Red Heart Queen's masquerade goes smoothly this time, Ouroboros swears not to take a step out of Hydera, the water god's wine cellar. Hydera, my dear friend, my happiness in life relies on you. Really, this year is indeed only 999 years. Great Witch Flora hesitated for a moment. Ouroboros has earned the infamous reputation of taking payment without doing the work, a fact known to everyone in the entire Endless Gods domain. Even so, why do so many people still throw precious treasures at Ouroboros, showing the determination of a dog chasing a meat bun that will never come back? Because Ouroboros's prophecies are truly effective. Unlike deductionists, who need numerous pieces of information, prerequisites, and necessary factors to arrive at a conclusion, divination by the mysterious faction is utterly unreasonable and even unbelievable. The prophecies of Ouroboros often seem inexplicable and even completely out of sync with time. However, many of the past predictions have an astonishingly high accuracy when viewed in this present era. It prophesied the eruption of a volcano in a certain world, triggering a great panic in that world. The entire world began a bloody war, even fighting for the ownership of the continent far from the volcanic eruption. The population of the whole world decreased by 60%. In the following days, people were waiting for the volcano to erupt. It wasn't until the whole planet entered the era of space travel that the volcanic eruption predicted in the prophecy finally arrived, albeit late. The kings who started a world war because of that prophecy were long gone, not even leaving behind their ashes. In another instance, she prophesied that the ruler of a certain country would become a deity. The king who received this prophecy was elated and began indulging himself, only for the country to be destroyed within 10 years. It took several generations, around a few dozen, for the descendant of that king to rebuild the country and restore its name. After several more generations, a legendary figure emerged in the country and inherited a fragment of an ancient deity, succeeding to the name of the god, and fulfilling the prophecy of Ouroboros. Overall, the prophecies of Ouroboros are actually quite accurate, but the timing of the prophecies cannot be calculated based on human understanding. The predictions she made at that time might only come true after several thousand, or even tens of thousands, of years. In this way, only the strongest ones in the legend ranked who have entered the eternal and immortal field will be eligible to wait for the prophecy of Ouroboros to come true. But I think you're lying. Remembering the restless wait for 999 years, Flora couldn't contain her anger anymore, as she had almost completely given up hope. What about meeting a destined lover within 1,000 years? She hasn't even caught a glimpse yet. Do you really have divination for me? Flora was very skeptical, as the legendary trickster snake was notorious for taking payment without doing anything. No, you will meet soon. Ouroboros firmly refused to admit that he was just making things up. The renowned Ouroboros, the #1 fortune teller of the mysterious Endless Gods domain sect, claimed to be able to observe fragments of the future in the river of time. Could he be lying? That's just fate playing a little joke, Flora. As long as you don't be picky, you'll have plenty of boyfriends every minute and second. Having a large chest, that's the advantage. There are still 369 days. If I don't meet the ideal lover by then, I'll make sure to get rid of you. Great Witch Flora looked coldly at Ouroboros, who seemed to be talking nonsense. For the legend ranked, a year passes in the blink of an eye, and the results can be known quickly. Quack. The black great crow spread its wings and stared coldly at the snake, leaving a mark on it. That was the proclamation of the Dusk Witch, a beacon until death. Chapter 1257R. No. The Ouroboros, who discovered they had been marked by the Great Witch Flora, turned pale. This was the curse of the Dusk Witch. Once marked with this symbol, the Great Crow will chase you to every corner of the world, even if you hide in the most remote corner of the Endless Gods domain. The Great Crow, which is the embodiment of the Dusk Witch, has the ability to travel between dimensions. This is also why Flora is known as one of the strongest Great Witches of this era in the Witch Gods domain. Not a single sinner marked by her with the Dusk Mark has ever escaped. Stop, Flora. Even if Ouroboros owes you a debt, there's no need to go this far, said Cassina the battle god, shrugging her shoulders as she prepared to save Ouroboros. After all, without Ouroboros' divination ability, it would be difficult to find her disciple Yun-Shi in the vastness of the stars, like searching for a needle in a haystack. Although she was a fallen serpent, her divination ability was still very useful. At least, among the mysterious fortune tellers known by Cassina the battle god, no one could come close to her position. She was still hoping to see her disciple make a shocking appearance in the next Battle Gods Grand Martial Arts Tournament, a few years from now, shaking the Endless Gods domain. For the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, she was determined to win. If she missed this opportunity, who knows how long she would have to wait to find other legend-ranked delicacies. Cassina, are you trying to stop me? Flora's dark eyes flickered with dangerous light, and the shadow of Great Crow behind her became more real. Yes, replied Cassina the battle god succinctly, immediately making her move. In one step, Yun-Shi couldn't even see how she took that step. Cassina the battle god moved to stand in front of Great Witch Flora, looking down at the imposing witch. Her slender figure was now fully displayed, towering over Great Witch Flora by more than a head. One foot silently stepped on Flora's foot. A ripple spread out, and the shadow of Great Crow behind Great Witch Flora spread its wings, releasing waves of time and space. With a whoosh sound, the figure of Great Witch Flora disappeared from the spot. Instant teleportation, a powerful magic of the spatial system, known as the ultimate legendary magic, no one in Sia's world has been able to master it. Great Witch Flora's teleportation allows her to swiftly travel using God's domain as a unit, which is what makes Dusk Witch famous. Unlike magic like the portal that requires coordinates, Flora, the embodiment of Great Crow, can freely move through the cracks between worlds, as long as they are within their perception range. However, as Flora appeared from the other end of the masquerade, Cassina the battle god's figure also appeared right beside her, maintaining a position with her foot stepping on Flora's heel. Naturally, Cassina the battle god doesn't have the ability for unlimited spatial teleportation. She was forcibly dragged along by Great Witch Flora and moved through the void multiple times in an instant. If it were any other creature, even a huge dragon, being sliced through the void so many times would turn them into pieces of meat. But Cassina the battle god didn't have a single scratch on her. This is one of the reasons why Great Witch Flora is wary of Cassina the battle god. Battle God's Grand Martial Arts Tournament. The undefeated battle god, who has a real record of enduring forbidden spells. The forbidden spells here are not like the small-scale disasters of floods, thunderstorms, and so on in Sia's world. They are actual spells that can destroy the world. Yunshi fell into Sia's world, causing a shockwave of falling stars, which the Leviathan Empire mistook for a nuclear explosion. He didn't even come close to touching the edge of true forbidden spells of the legend ranked. Cassina the battle god has encountered more than 2 digits worth of forbidden spells in the Battle God's Grand Martial Arts Tournament. Black hole collapse. Multidimensional world fragmentation. Little droplet. Well, even though she has been struck by these world-destroying forbidden spells of the legend ranked, Cassina the battle god is still lively and continues the undefeated legend of the Battle God's Grand Martial Arts Tournament. Magic immunity and such, it's like cheating ability. Is she really human? Great Witch Flora watched Cassina the battle god, who was a head taller than her toes feeling a bit sore. So cool. Yunshi excitedly watched as Cassina the battle god effortlessly subdued Great Witch Flora. Yunshi is completely helpless against opponents who can teleport. They are like the natural enemy of all close combat fighters. How can you fight an opponent who can't even be found? Cassina the battle god gave Yunshi an answer: grab her before the fight, step on her foot, and force her into your own strong fighting style. This move, known as the overbearing kick, is recorded in the seed of the battle god. With just one step, you can step on your opponent and force them into close combat, where there is no escape. Those who are stepped on by Cassina the battle god, whether it's Great Witch Flora who is skilled in magical teleportation or even a true giant taller than mountains, cannot escape her deadly hands. When that foot steps down, it may seem simple, but it actually requires superhuman muscles and nerves, combining countless steps. Once the overbearing kick is launched, the opponent who is stepped on will enter an unstoppable barrage, being in the same position in every sense. It's not just a matter of overlapping shadows, but through an endless barrage, making it impossible for the opponent to escape. Even Great Witch Flora, who can escape by transforming into Great Crow and traversing the void, couldn't get away from Cassina the battle god's clutches. As calm as a peaceful dawn. As fast as a rabbit. A seemingly ordinary step represents one of Cassina the battle god's greatest achievements in martial arts. Yunshi's current body is unable to handle the basic requirements of the powerful kick. After all, it is an unlimited combo ability that even the legend-ranked giants can be knocked down by. Unlike Yun Hai's quadrant sword, which leans towards the spiritual aspect, mastering the powerful kick requires a solid and extraordinary physique. Otherwise, not only would one be unable to take that step, but their own limbs would be blown up by the erupting internal energy. After all, in order to master this move, one must first possess a strong body capable of executing the high-level battle god genre skill unlimited combos. With Yunshi's current soft and rigid body, he can't even attempt it. The unlimited combos technique developed by Cassina the battle god is hailed as one of the legendary martial arts skills in the Battle God's Grand Martial Arts Tournament and serves as Cassina the battle god's signature move. The boundless dominance, well-deserved reputation. Flora, who had been stepped on by Cassina the battle god, snapped his fingers and retrieved the dusk mark from Ouroboros. I concede. Cassina the battle god removed the oppressive dominance of the infinite overbearing foot, achieving a small victory. Of course, neither side has yet shown their true strength, as the conflict between the two has not reached the point where a real showdown is necessary. Chapter 1258 Saved. Sob sob sob. Ouroboros grabbed Cassina the battle god's hand, tears and snot streaming down. Ouroboros, who is famous throughout the endless god's domain for always evading debts, is most afraid of legends like Flora, who possess the ability to teleport across dimensions. Due to her innate danger perception ability, Ouroboros ranks 10th in the Endless Gods domain in terms of her ability to break through barriers. Among those who could corner her, Great Witch Flora is one. When Great Witch Flora came to Ouroboros for divination, she was very reluctant to accept the enchanted threads. Remember to follow my lead later. Cassina the battle god tapped Ouroboros on the head. With her help, they successfully blocked the calamity caused by Great Witch Flora. This time, at the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, victory is within their grasp. I'll do as you say, Cassina the battle god. Ouroboros straightened her chest, her courage returning. The cold Flora looked back at Ouroboros, the great crow's reflection. Duskmark was let go, but it was only because of Cassina the battle god that she didn't say a word about the nonsense from Ouroboros. There are still 369 days until the final deadline of 1,000 years. If she doesn't meet her ideal lover by then, she doesn't mind blowing up this deceitful snake into snake kebabs. Actually, it's best not to believe in any prophecies when it comes to meeting someone you like. What kind of person you like, only you can understand. She couldn't help but speak up. After all, Cassina the battle god and Ouroboros were both from his acquaintance. From the twisted gaze of the Great Witch Flora, he sensed an unusual obsession. As a disciple of Cassina the battle god, he felt it necessary to enlighten this great witch who seemed to have gone mad with love. What kind of person do I like? Flora hesitated for a moment after Yunshi's words, suddenly realizing she couldn't come up with an accurate answer. She had always assumed that the person she liked must first meet the first 4 conditions she had for Ouroboros, and then the most important feeling. In this 1,000 years, according to the prophecy of Ouroboros, she truly put in a lot of effort to find a lover who met these conditions. Due to the preceding 4 conditions, in fact, there are only a few people in the entire Endless Gods domain who meet these conditions, and she has basically observed all of them. A certain god in the Western Gods domain, who holds wealth and is also a descendant of the supreme god of a certain god's domain, is the subject of countless epic songs. His favorite is another giant born from the earth. Only same-sex love is true love, give up. A certain elder of the fairy clan, said to be the fruit born from the first-generation world tree of the fairy clan, of unknown gender, a scholar dedicated to researching the truth of the world and the ultimate mysteries of life, give up. My whole life will be dedicated to the great truth, give up. A powerful dragon from the northern god's domain, dominating many god's domains, has an extraordinary obsession with Flora and has offered an astronomical dowry in order to marry the Great Witch. The reason is, he wants Great Witch Flora to help him collect more and more treasures for investment. I am not your treasure chest, give up. A certain abyss sovereign from the southern realm called God's Domain, once tempted more than one fallen ancient god. Come with me to destroy the world. I think you, who transforms into the Great Crow, have the potential to become the Demon King. Instead of being the Demon King, I would rather focus on love and give up. Great Witch Flora, who has the ability to travel through dimensions, has secretly observed anyone who meets the first 4 criteria, or even just 3 of them. However, the results were disappointing. None of them met the criteria fully, and most of them had ulterior motives. The few who didn't have ulterior motives and met the criteria already had their own goals. After evaluating all the potential options in the Endless Gods domain, Flora had to admit, with disappointment, that her ideal lover had not yet appeared. Since the Ouroboros prophecy spanned 1,000 years, for the first few hundred years, she still held hope for new potential targets to appear. Now, with only 1 year left until the end of the 1,000-year prophecy, can she really encounter a perfect lover who meets all her criteria and makes her heart beat faster in such a short time? No one dared to say to Great Witch Flora what Yunshi said. Flora's pickiness when it came to her lover was famous throughout the Endless Gods domain. After being kicked out of the legend ranked, no one had the confidence to propose to her anymore. With her qualifications, she was eligible to choose her own marriage partner in the entire Endless Gods domain. The problem was, even the Great Witch Flora herself didn't really understand what kind of lover she needed. It was impossible to solve without the reason of feeling. The perfect lover in Flora's fantasy, full of youthful heart, seemed to have never existed in this world. Do I have to lower my standards? Based on Flora's own qualifications, she was eligible to lower her standards. After all, she herself was the top great witch in the witch god's domain and had accumulated wealth for millions of years. It was not an exaggeration to say that she was the wealthiest great witch in the witch god's domain. Just the ability to freely travel through dimensions, as long as she carried some goods casually, she could earn a bucketful of money without going through the deductions of star bridges and with the ability to travel to designated points faster than star bridges. She made money faster than a hen laying golden eggs, otherwise she wouldn't have attracted the proposal of a dragon. No. I can't do this. How can I be with someone I like who is even poorer than me? To prove one's ability, one of the best ways is to have wealth. To achieve my dreams, I need to have money. The wealth in Great Witch Flora's eyes was not human money, but precious exchangeable items that were accepted in the entire endless god's domain. Mortal currency decays, divides, and even the countries that issue currency will fall apart in just a few decades. Only a currency like the world tree leaf, possessing some eternal properties, recognized and accepted by the entire endless god's domain, can truly be called wealth. So, besides money, are there any other necessary conditions? Yunshi said, showing that he understood Flora's thoughts. It seemed that having money was an essential element for her. Perhaps only with enough wealth could Great Witch Flora fulfill her future needs. Chapter 1259 Connections that do not exist, 3 more, is such that. Perhaps it is the kindness that Yunshi has sent out. The big witch Fu Lala has a natural sense of closeness to the ancient gods in front of her, and her condition is not a secret, she directly said it. As with the girl who is going to marry, her blind date is based on her own benchmark. In fact, it is not too high. First, it must be the same legendary level as the big witch Fujira. It is best to be magical. This legendary rank does not limit the race, and even does not limit the camp, because the big witch Fu Lala himself is a chaotic neutral camp, not strictly required to be a good or evil camp. Even the old in the abyss has not tasted no. Second, to be handsome and beautiful, taking it out to any goddess will be enviable. This is a matter of course, the legendary level is still ugly, it is too polluting, even if it is the evil spirit in the abyss, the big witch Fu Lala also requires that it be beautiful. Third, there are many, and a lot of wealth. This is not a worldly money. At least it is to have as many people as a world tree. Every year, you can collect the leaves. This is related to Fu's future plan and the future of the entire witch domain. It is absolutely essential and necessary. Even if the other 3 conditions can be slightly retreated, this condition will never be lowered. If you can get a super high score on this condition, Fu Lala will be willing to lower the first and second standards by a little. Fourth, I will treat Fu Lala gently. If it is replaced by the standard of the mortal world, the identity of the Great Witch Fujira can be regarded as a princess of a country or a queen who inherits the throne, and requires that the other half be powerful, enriched, and loyal to love. Look at 1 Hair 2 Line 3 Chinese network. If it is a mortal world, people who meet these conditions at the same time, although rare, can still find out a lot based on the whole endless domain. The problem is that the big witch Fujila is not the princess of the mortal country, the queen, but the one of the few witches in the devil's domain, the peerless powerhouse with the Twilight Witch's title. Her own strength is already the legendary rank on the pyramid of the endless gods. The figure is the highest of the witches' gods, and the chest parts can make most of the goddesses eclipse. Looking up again with her own standards, it is really the whole endless domain that can't find a few legendary ranks that can satisfy her requirements. After listening to her request, Yunshi is about to sympathize with the cousin Ouroboros. This kind of choice of lovers, Yunshi did not think about this life. Well, although the standard of his ex-girlfriend is 1,000 times more terrible than this. This can't be found. According to Yunshi's book Introduction to Love That Even Monkeys Can Learn, the sorcerer's standard of the big witch Fu Laura will definitely make her single in this life. Why? I just want to find a lover who meets these conditions and treats me tenderly. What is wrong? Our witches are so choosing their spouses. The big witch Fu Lala looked at Yunshi. Marrying someone better than oneself is the education she received from an early age, and it is also the mate's mate selection standard for most witches. Because I am very good, then I naturally choose to marry someone better than myself. This is a natural thing in the witch domain. There has never been any doubt about the witch. Oh. I will draw a picture and you will know. Yunshi recalled the knowledge he had learned from Introduction to Love that monkeys can learn and painted 2 pyramids on the table. This, the witch corresponding to your witch domain. Yunshi draws 4 levels on the left pyramid. Trainee witch. General witch. Excellent witch. And at the top of the pyramid, it is known as the Great Witch of the entire witch domain. Then, the pyramid on the right side of the gourd is also drawn in 4 levels. Trainee hero. General hero. Excellent hero. The bald hero who symbolizes the peak and seeks defeat. Most of the witches like heroes who are stronger than themselves, and most of them like the witches who are protected by themselves. Yunshi used the simplest mathematical connection to connect the 2 pyramids. Thus, in the entire endless domain, including the love connection line recognized by the witch domain, there is a connection diagram that makes the big witch Fu Lala worldview completely shaken. The heroes above the pyramid on the right, almost without exception, chose the general witch, the excellent witch, and even the trainee witch. That is to say, no hero class on the right side of the pyramid will choose the big witch class at the top of the pyramid on the left. Well, that's probably the way it is. According to the normal method, the connection between the big witches is. Yunshi hesitated, and it was a difficult line to draw a line to the right pyramid that did not exist. What is represented there is an area that does not exist in the concept. That is to say, according to the method of choosing a spouse in the witch domain, the other half of the perfection that the big witches long for is not in the scope of common sense. This matter, in fact, is very clear, but it is just Fu Lala, and other big witches who have not been able to find a suitable lover, have been deceiving themselves and can't see it. With their strong strength, no one dares to say so straightforwardly with them, that is, Yunshi, a counterfeit goods that knows the concept of legendary ranks, can be drawn directly and boldly. The reason is very simple, the problem is that no one dares to speak. Can't find. Fu Lala looked at the 2 pyramids dumbly, and she had to admit that the connection to the pyramid was correct. In the witch domain, the more excellent the witch is, the harder it is to marry. Instead, the cultivation talent is not so good. The general witch who is not far from the road of the witch, and the little accomplished witches, are easy to harvest the family and the other half. Because they don't have so much energy to invest in magic, and they don't have the extraordinary talent of a powerful witch, they gave up the ideal to a higher world early and embarked on the road of getting married and having children. In contrast, I don't know how many difficulties and obstacles have gone through. When the big witches who have surpassed their own limits and finally reached the legendary ranks, when they look back, their families and even their families have disappeared in history. The rest, only the great witches who are on the road to immortality, they are the soul of the witch domain, the idol of the witch domain owner. Even the big witch who is biased towards the evil camp is still recognized by the people of the witch domain, and willingly accept exploitation and crushing. This is the charm of the big witch. P.S. The third is more, this is yesterday's 3 more, today's update at night. Chapter 1260 Frustrated Fu Lala, 1 more, before there is no way? The big witch, Fu Lala, looked at the 2 easy-to-understand pyramid figures with a dead eye, and seemed to want to find something on top of the pyramid. Look at unfortunately, there is no. Just like the big witch symbolizes the top of the witch domain, to this level and then look up, Yunshi seems to only list the names of his ex-girlfriends. Well, it's better not to look for a dead end. Yes, there is nothing on it. Yunshi honestly told the big witch, Fu Lala, who came from afar. The perfect lover that she expected to meet all the conditions basically did not exist. In the book Introduction to Love that even monkeys can learn, this question is very clearly pointed out. The better a woman is, the less likely she is to find another side that fits her psychological expectations. To the level of the legendary level of the big witch Fu Jura, I want to find a lover who is satisfied with everything, just 4 words hope. Anyway, Yunshi can't imagine, how good is the person in order to meet the requirements of the big witch Fu Lala. The 4 conditions correspond to force, appearance, wealth, and people's hearts, and finally they must conform to Fu Lala's feeling. This layer is screened and is almost the same as a needle in a haystack. It turns out, I didn't have it at the beginning. The big witch Fu Lala looked at the digital pyramid model. Some things are called a leaf blind. Some truths, called the authorities, are onlookers. However, no one dares to tell the truth to the big witch Fu Lala and the big witch who is in the same dilemma, because they can't afford it. In other words, Yunshi did not know that the tall, thick and stupid teenager would say so unscrupulously and tell this cruel truth. So, I can't find a lover in my life, senior? The big witch Fu Lala asked her predecessors in the minds of the ancient gods, and their eyes were full of confusion. No, there is no such thing. Yunshi shook his head. Love, and identity, status, wealth have nothing to do with. All your conditions are just to find lovers, but true love is always sudden, without any warning. At that time, you may understand that regardless of identity, status, and how big the race is, like it is like it. Even if there is no way to get married, even if it will be separated, but the feelings of love will not disappear, it is love. When it was an ordinary baker, Yunshi experienced such a love. Like the queen of summer. Like a sly star. She is always so dazzling, so good, the closer she is, the more she can feel the light she releases. But even so, even if you know that there may be no results, you can't help but like it. That is really the best in Yunshi's short 16-year life, the most regretless feeling, the first love. But, I can't like the opposite that these conditions can't satisfy. The big witch Fugula has her own attachment, which is also the common disease of the big witch who has the same distress as her. Beyond the time, they entered the field of eternal immortality, lost their loved ones, lost their family, and everything they once knew was dying in the long years. What they expect is sweet, dreamy, like a fairy tale. Let your heart beat violently, feel the excitement, can't help but blush, like a girl's shame, can't control myself, that is the love that the witches are jealous. Fu Lala has fantasized about the many times he and his ideal lover meet. It is a meteor shower in the sky, an encounter under the same starry sky. It is a long-standing art gallery, a careless encounter. Still on the battlefield of blood and killing, the romance of life and death. No matter which one, it must be unforgettable, and you can understand it in a flash. Ah, that person is my darling. Or, are you the other half of me? Only such encounters are in line with Fu's fantasy. Of course, the other party must first satisfy the heavy conditions listed by her. This is love. Say his own fantasies, the big witch Fu face is red, do not know why, in front of this ancient god's predecessors, she has a natural sense of relaxation. I do not know, I feel that I have all my secret thoughts. What is the love story of this era? Yunshi stunned and looked at the face of the innocent girl's face. The big witch Fu Lala, according to your request, is the other party a legendary rank? Well, that's of course, and life that is too short is not a way to fall in love. Oh. Yunshi didn't know what to say. After hesitating for a while, he decided to let the big witch Fu Lala wake up from fantasy. Since it is a legendary rank, what kind of situation will you encounter without chance? The general legendary ranks. Will you be bored to go to the art gallery? If it is a battlefield where you will feel dangerous, will he still have the heart to talk to you about love, not your enemy? The big witch, Fu, opened her little mouth, and her little face became red with a little bit of anger, and that provoked the fire slammed and swayed. This, as if it's really impossible. It's easy to have such awkwardness in the story of the nobles in the story. Oh really? Yunshi understood it. Although the big witch Fu Layla has the power of terror, but the love is completely ignorant. Not only that, but it has also been seriously misled by some irresponsible novels. The love stories in those novels are all processed by art, and the target readers are the aristocratic daughters of the mortal world, or the ladies of the Chamber of Commerce, where there will be novels written specifically for the legendary Big Witcher. Undoubtedly, the Big Witch Fu Fula's love concept has serious deviations. If she has zero love experience, according to those conditions, if she chooses a lover, she is destined to be single. Why? Such a simple mistake did not tell her that the story in the novel has no reference for the big witch of the legendary rank. I have acquired the legendary ranks of eternal life. The way of behavior and thinking is clearly far from human beings. Why do she believe in the romantic stories that have been specially processed in love stories? Meteor shower or something. You can make it yourself. Of course I just think about it. I didn't take it seriously. Absolutely not. The big witch Fula was so sad that she had a look of the end of the world. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not too late. The legendary ranks are qualified for mistakes, no matter how bad the past, as long as they can be corrected. Yunshi looked at the serpent Orotolos who was stealing next to him. This exception is completely unsuccessful. P.S. Tonight's 3 consecutive years start, immediately 12 o'clock. Everyone remember to vote for the updated recommended ticket, and now the recommended list battle is hot. Every vote is very important. Chapter 1261 asks for the answer. 2 more. As long as you can correct your opinion on love, then there is hope. Yunshi turned his eyes from the eating and eat snake Orotolos, and nodded. Well, as far as this is concerned, the people who met for the first time have already said what they can say. As for how to get in love correctly, this is a question that has no correct answer. It can only be found according to your own heart. At that time, when he encountered the fireworks, he did not hesitate to extend his hand, as if he was attracted by what? In retrospect, it was really a shackle of fate, whether it was for him or for the fireworks. Well, I understand. Tell me, seniors. The big witch Fushi grabbed Yunshi's hand and revealed her eager eyes. Hey, what else do you want to say? I know, your love experience must be very rich. The ancient gods don't all like the love of the younger brothers. How many lovers do you have in your predecessors? Fu Lala's big eyes looked at Yunshi with great sincerity. I don't know what the answer will never give up. This is a secret. Yunshi found himself seemingly provoked troubles that should not be provoked, and the opposite serpent, Ouroboros, began to look at himself with poor eyes. Just a little persuade the big witch in front of me and tell her a little bit about the common sense of love. Just by this introduction to love that monkeys can learn, anyone who knows this simple common sense can learn it. Why, this big witch, Fu Lala, will grab his hand like a straw. If this body is a real container of God, it will be revealed by the legendary big witch who caught his true identity. It's pitiful, there's no good news in this world. The snake, Ouropolis, looked at Yunshi, who was caught by the big witch, and said, "You are going to die." The gloating expression. Look at 1 hair 2 line 3 Chinese network. Well, there is no reason for this snake to be remembered. Fu La is not a good camp, but chaotic and neutral. Fighting Cassina shrugged his shoulders. She saved the snake Orotolos alone enough, as for others who cannot help. Fu Lala's obsession is well known throughout the eternal realm. Even the unreliable serpent Orotolos has found it. It can be said that he is already in a hurry and is a doctor. She has gone the wrong way from the beginning, and now it's too late to get lost. The mysterious ancient gods apparently did not know how much trouble this was, and it was a disaster. Well, I understand, it doesn't matter if you don't say it to seniors. I have a crystal ball for lie detection. Fu Lala skillfully took out a transparent silver crystal ball. This was originally used to test the precious props of future lovers' love loyalty. Now I don't care so much. I will use it first. Because it is a special prop that has an effect on the legendary level, only 3 questions related to love will be broken, but the answer is absolutely true. Full name: inquiring about the crystal ball of love, the legendary quality, is said to be a props made by the gods in charge of the priesthood in ancient times, and there are no more than 10 existing extant gods. The basics are all collected by the witches of the witch gods. The only one of the big witch Fu Lala is the treasure she has tried to find. Now she wants to use this crystal ball to find an answer and make a decision. The crystal ball of love. Does the world really like the opposite of the predecessors? Answer. Fu Yula looked at the silver crystal ball with a sincere look. This is related to her future and must give the best answer. The silver crystal ball floats in the air, locking in the faceless gods and someone hidden inside the faceless god. The silver glow flashed and the surface of the crystal ball appeared. Have. Fu Lala smiled, and it really was the predecessor who had harvested the fruit of love. It's no wonder that there is such a feeling for love. Yunshi is sweating and has a very bad prediction. Oh, the ancient has a lover, yes, better than Fu Lala. The snake, Ouroboros, licked the crystal ball with a destiny, just to ask this boring question. This level of treasure, the big witch Fu Lala really has a rich family. Is the predecessor able to help my love? Fu Lala asked again. She had a hunch, this answer is very important, can lead her to a promising future. Yes. The silver glow spread out, and the silver crystal ball symbolizing love was given to the big witch Fu Lala's positive answer. Awesome. Sure enough, this is destiny. The divination of the appendix snake or rotulos seems to fall on this opportunity. The last time I asked questions, Fu Shala thought about it and asked a question that I really wanted to know. So, how much the opposite of the predecessors is the kind that you really like, and regards the predecessors as the ideal lover and the object of fate. This problem can satisfy the curiosity of the big witch Fu Jura. There are not many examples of the legendary love that can be used for her reference. The ancient gods in front of us are experienced people. The dreamy love crystal ball begins to explore, find, and observe someone's love trajectory. The divine right to love the priesthood, start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One number began to jump, and soon jumped from 2 digits to 3 digits, then broke through 4 digits and moved toward 5 digits. Oops, this question. The cloud in the core of the faceless is full of sweat, and the number can't be revealed. He doesn't know how many numbers he has. Hey. The power of love in theocracy has detected certain areas that must not be detected. In the ancient times, the ancient gods that have remained in the present age, the instinct has detected the crisis, as if the trace of this love trajectory has gone wrong. The numbers that have already reached 6 digits have turned into random numbers, and there has been some kind of heart-rending breath. That is the atmosphere that represents the origin of the world, and there is more than one, not to mention a crystal ball made by a love god, that is, the of love is alive, and I dare not look at these loves. If the arrow of the of love is effective for the son of a certain star, I am afraid that he has long been filled with countless arrows of love. Oh, plunged into an infinite number of chaotic cycles, dating back to the creation of the concept of the love of the crystal ball exploded. It bears an answer to the unbearable weight of life, and it is an inevitable ending. Of the last fragments left, only one broken number was saved, 4. P.S. Resentment of 4 ex-girlfriends. Chapter 1262, Asking for Answers, 2. The shiny crystal ball floated in the air, locking onto the faceless god and someone hidden within the faceless god. A silver halo flashed, and text appeared on the surface of the crystal ball. Got it. Flora smiled, the experienced one who had harvested the fruit of love. No wonder she had such insights into love. She was sweating profusely, a very bad prophecy. Oh, the ancient gods have lovers, impressive, much better than Flora. Ouroboros glanced at the crystal ball with a sense of fate, using such a powerful treasure just to ask such a boring question. Great witch Flora must be rich indeed. Can you help me with my love, elder? Flora asked again, sensing the importance of this answer, hoping it would guide her towards a future full of hope. Yes. The silver halo spread out, and the silver crystal ball, symbolizing love luck, gave Great Witch Flora a positive answer. Fantastic. This must be destiny. Ouroboros' fortune-telling charlatanry seemed to have fallen into this opportunity. For the last question, Flora thought for a moment and asked a question she really wanted to know the answer to. So, how many opposite-sex people do you like? I mean, genuinely like considering them as your ideal lover, your destined one. This question would satisfy Great Witch Flora's curiosity. There aren't many examples of love in the legend ranked for her to refer to, except for the experienced ancient gods right in front of her. The magical love crystal ball started exploring, searching, and observing someone's love trajectory. The divine power of the love god's profession, activate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The numbers started jumping, quickly moving from 2 digits to 3 digits, then breaking into 4 digits, and heading towards 5 digits. Oh no! This question. Yunxi, the core of the faceless god, was sweating profusely. He couldn't reveal that number. He himself didn't even know what that number was. Beep. Click. The power of the god of love sensed a field that should never be explored. Ancient relics from ancient times, which have survived to the present, instinctively sensed danger, as if there was a mistake in tracing the path of love this time. The number, which had already reached 6 digits, completely turned into random numbers, and began to emanate a frightening aura. It represented the origin of the world, and there was not just one, but several of them. Even the love god dare not look at the love fortune of these few beings, not to mention a crystal ball made by a love deity. If the love god's arrows were effective for a certain star child, they would probably be filled with countless arrows of love already. With a bang sound, the love fortune crystal ball, which traced back to the concept of the creation of existence, exploded into an infinite loop of random numbers. It bore the weight of an answer that life could not bear, and its destruction was an inevitable outcome. Among the fragments left behind, only one broken and battered number remained, 4. Chapter 1263, In the Name of Love 4. Great Witch Flora picked up the last remaining piece of the crystal ball that had exploded with a shocked expression. It was her first time knowing that the crystal ball would automatically explode after using up all the question attempt. Within the Big Four character, it seemed like there was still some powerful intention lingering, and not just one. Undoubtedly, this represented the vast extent of the ancient divine predecessor's experience in love, which was much more believable than that unreliable prophecy of Ouroboros. This truly deserved her respectful address as predecessor, and not just a mere formality for the ancient gods. Having 4 lovers who genuinely loved each other, even if they might all have perished, was a great existence that could make all the great witches envy and be jealous of. For her, who had realized that she had been searching for love in the wrong way, this was like a lighthouse in the darkness, symbolizing the dawn of hope. 4. Yunxi once again rejoiced that he was hidden within the core of the faceless god. It seemed like the crystal ball had really seen something, but it definitely wasn't anything good. If there was anything related to the number 4 in his love life, it would definitely be them, whoever they were. Even their names couldn't be casually mentioned about such a supreme existence. In order to avoid a dead end, Yunxi felt it was better to stay away from the dangerous Great Witch Flora right in front of his eyes. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. Even the magical crystal ball, which tests love luck, was used up. Great Witch Flora completely trusted the friendly and experienced ancient spirit in front of her. This was the first time she had met someone who could guide her on the path of love, a senior in love. No wonder, from the moment she saw her, she felt somewhat interested. It turns out it wasn't just because she was an ancient spirit. Senior, in my current situation, how can I broaden my horizons and find true love? Great Witch Flora naturally changed her position and moved from opposite Yunxi to his side, with a sincere expression on her face, clinging to Yunxi. Yunxi really wanted to tell this powerful Great Witch that he couldn't solve anything about finding true love and the legend ranked. It would be better for her to start with beginners' textbooks like Love for Dummies. Unfortunately, Great Witch Flora had already set her mind on Yunxi. And since this was the Red Heart Queen's ball, there was nowhere to escape. Ha ha ha. That guy is in for some trouble. Ouroboros was just enjoying the show, knowing that Cassina the battle god had his back. It's easy to relax when you're under the protection of a strong ally. Watching others' misfortune is a game that everyone, from humans to spirits, never tires of. Flora is very difficult to deal with. Cassina the battle god looked curiously at the struggling Yunxi, wondering why this strange deity felt different. Being in the same legend ranked, it was her first encounter with this type of ancient god spirit. Most naturally born deities have some kind of rule they control, but she didn't know what kind of god this was. So, let me ask you first, are you in the childhood sweetheart group or the fated encounter group? Yunxi, who was being pestered by Great Witch Flora, brought out a killer question that left Flora stunned. What's the difference between these two groups? The childhood sweetheart group represents emotions nurtured since childhood, where affection gradually grows and the other person becomes important, eventually leading to a natural union. Yunxi himself was a supporter of the childhood sweetheart group because his first love was Hua Hua. The fated encounter group represents sudden meetings and changes. Once you meet that person, the world starts to become different. Even if you know it's like a moth to a flame, you still rush forward and burn with passion. I belong to the fated encounter group. A romantic meeting and a racing heartbeat, that's the kind of love I want. I don't want the kind of love that takes a long time to develop. Great Witch Flora was very clear about her feelings. We want a passionate and intense love, the kind that can cause a world crisis, so that it's romantic and thrilling enough. No wonder she's a senior, she understood what kind of love she needed from such a simple question. Unlike that useless snake Ouroboros, always dragging things on, being ambiguous and wasting her 999 years. Meeting the senior not only pointed out her fatal mistake in seeking a partner in the past but also made her realize the true form of love that she really wanted. Yes, love should be full of passion, like the sunset burning in the sky. It doesn't need to last forever, just tightly embrace each other, experience the most intense heartbeat, feel the most beautiful scenery, and engrave everything in the heart. This kind of intoxication, this kind of palpitations, it feels just like being in love. The senior is really amazing. The senior, who has 4 truly devoted lovers, is definitely different from anyone else. As long as she gets her help, she will definitely be able to find her ideal lover. Great Witch Flora has never had such a strong intuition before. This is the person, she is the one she has always wanted to find, so much better than that damn Ouroboros, who knows how many times. It's like this. When you meet someone who makes your heart beat faster, you can feel a strong desire from deep inside. At that time, you will understand what true love is. For the person you love, you can do things that you never imagined before, going beyond your limits. Even just watching her back can make you feel happy, and for you, she is that one and only person in the world. You don't need to care about what others think. Just focus on doing everything you can, even if it's something small like making bread for the person you like. It will be enjoyable. Based on his own experiences, Yunxi described to Great Witch Flora what love should be like. I envy you, Elder. If I could have someone like that too, would I be as happy? From Yunxi's voice, Flora could feel the overflowing happiness from his heart. This is what all great witches desire, the taste of a dreamy lover. The immortal great witches long for the love that ordinary people can have, which is somewhat ironic, but it is the reality. Whether they are kind, neutral, or evil great witches, without exception, they all desire the same thing, but cannot attain it. When you meet the right person, you will find happiness. Yunxi comforted Flora, who seemed a little sad but also filled with anticipation for some reason. Yes, that's it, meeting the right person. Flora stretched out her fingers, extending and retracting them one by one, as if trying to grasp something that didn't exist in the air. Once you meet them, you will never let go. In the name of love, I will remain steadfast until death. Chapter 1264. The ideal lover's appearance in people's imagination. The legendary beings of the highest rank are almost faultless and perfect creatures, possessing deep understanding of the truths of the world. They are miracles. It got only half of it right. Having a deep understanding of the truths of the world is correct. All legendary beings of the highest rank are embodiments of some kind of miracle, whether they are gods, fantasy species, or other concepts. They stand as extraordinary existences at the peak of countless intelligent beings. But this doesn't mean that the legend-ranked never makes mistakes, never gets fooled, and many times their personalities are as innocent as children. Mortals cannot comprehend the power of the legend-ranked. They fear this power and instinctively stay away from the legend-ranked, because they are not mere mortals, they are even beyond what hero-ranked can approach. Even if the legend-ranked makes a mistake, no one dares to point out their mistake and try to correct it. They only obey the will of the legend-ranked and, in turn, adapt to the legend-ranked's mistakes and turn them into truth. This may seem very abnormal, but it is the most common way of interaction between the mortals of endless God's domain and the great existence of the legend ranked. In extreme terms, mortals cannot even imagine refusing or even altering the thoughts of the legend ranked. If the great existence of the legend ranked were to say that the sun will rise from the west tomorrow, they would believe it, because the legend ranked has the ability to make the planet rotate in reverse. Because the power of the legend ranked is almost limitless in the eyes of mortals, they are unable to comprehend the struggles of the legend ranked. Standing at the pinnacle of the witch god's domain pyramid, the great witches who symbolize the power of the source have all encountered the same issue as Flora, but no one dares to say that they are wrong. They couldn't find the right partner, and it's definitely not their fault. This is a common truth in the witch god's domain. Great witches can't be wrong, it's the world that's wrong. Not only mortals in the witch god's domain think so, but other witches also believe the same. They are so excellent that if they wanted to get married, they would naturally look for an even more excellent partner. Dusk witch Flora is not even the one with the highest standards. Some dark great witch is said to only consider the Lord of the Seven Towers as their ideal partner. Only someone like Yun Shi, who even had 4 former girlfriends at the creator level, can be so indifferent to their mistakes and go on to correct them without caring about the legend ranked. The natural closeness quickly made Flora let go of her guard and actively face her mistakes. After Yoon, she introduced her to some common knowledge about love and she finally understood the mathematical model of the 2 pyramids. She realized where she went wrong in the past. This mistake is not only her problem, but also a problem for all great witches in the witch god's domain. It's right to make oneself excellent, but if one becomes too excellent, trouble arises. Witches who can become great witches have extraordinary talents. These talents are visible to the naked eye. It is because of these talents that they are confident and constantly push the limits, eventually entering the eternal legendary field. You can easily tell the level of a witch in witch god's domain just by looking at them. People with natural talent have it, while those without it need to put in several times or even 10 times more effort just to barely keep up with the gifted witches. And this is only limited to the hero-ranked field. Witches without exceptionally high talent have never been able to reach the legend ranked in history. It's an area that cannot be achieved by mere effort. Throughout the history of witch god's domain, there was only one witch who, despite not having the highest level of talent, successfully advanced to the realm of the great witch and proved another legend. The original blood of a certain mutated multi-headed dragon can clearly enhance a witch's talent. This great witch, who was ultimately titled as the Dragon Witch, enhanced her own talent with a concentrated demon dragon blood. In the end, she broke through the limits that all other highly talented witches were unable to surpass and became a true great witch. In other words, she didn't actually break the tradition that only witches with exceptionally high talent can advance to the great witch level. Instead, she elevated her magical talent from high to highest, and then naturally advanced. After this news was confirmed, the value of the blood from a certain multi-headed dragon skyrocketed. Both deities and mortals coveted it, wishing they could extract blood from the demon dragon every day to cultivate. Senior, what should I do to meet my destined lover? After realizing her flaws, Flora firmly believed that Yunshi in front of her was her savior. Being able to point out her mistakes directly and being an experienced expert herself, it would be difficult to find another great senior like this one. Unlike the fraudster Snake Ouroboros, the senior in front of her was truly experienced, and his advice was much more insightful than any fortune-telling with no clues for 999 years. Yunshi was dumbfounded. How could he know about this kind of thing? He himself was a loser who had been chased by 4 terrible ex-girlfriends. Providing love guidance for the great witch of witch god's domain is just too difficult. The difficulty level is even higher than getting Red Heart Queen Ada drunk. It's like hell. I know I have strengths, a good figure, and a rich dowry. But my personality isn't that great. After receiving guidance from Yun Shi, Flora began to acknowledge her strengths and weaknesses. Not from the perspective of the legend ranked, but from the perspective of being a woman. You're very charming. Even Yun Shi had to admit that the great witch Flora in front of him had both strength and a good figure, and she appeared to be rich as well. The problem is, when you add all of this up, it becomes unreachable for males below the legend ranked. They absolutely don't have the courage to pursue the Great Witch. The excellence of Flora cannot be described by the lily-of-the-valley flower. It is truly a godlike level of greatness. And what is most important in love is the connection. If one person from the beginning sees the other as a god, how can they be in love? Mortals, even those ranked as heroes, can only admire and fear Great Witch Flora. They can't have any romantic feelings for her. Like the models of two pyramids, the level of excellence for women like Great Witch Flora is almost like a deserted oasis. So, let's imagine for a moment, what kind of ideal partner would meet the requirements of Great Witch Flora? Well, first of all, they need to eliminate any sense of distance. This person must be able to naturally approach Flora. Chapter 1265. The Witch's Love Course. Great Witch Flora doesn't know what love is, and only after realizing this can we understand why she always makes the simplest mistakes. If you can't even approach her naturally, then there is no future at all. The problem is, this simplest of questions became a big problem once it involved the identity of Great Witch Flora. Not everyone dares to approach Great Witch Flora, as it requires courage comparable to challenging a giant dragon. And even if you gather all your courage to approach her, the next question is crucial. The second love problem of Great Witch Flora is whether Flora herself is truly ready for love. Flora. Can you imagine what it feels like to have a crush on someone? She asked cautiously, as the answer was very important. I'll try to imagine. Flora hesitated for a moment, folded her hands together like she was praying, and then started imagining. Due to her absolute trust in she began to imagine how she would feel if she had a lover. Strange, she couldn't imagine at all what that would be like. For beginners in love, this question is a bit too difficult. Senior. What does it feel like to be in love? Flora opened her eyes in frustration, looking at the experienced senior with a confused expression. It's like your heart is melting when you see the person you like. Whether it's sunny or cloudy, as long as you can see the person you like, you feel a sense of happiness. Following the love journey between herself and Hua, she honestly taught the newcomer Flora. Is that so? Sorry. I can't think of a specific feeling. I can't imagine what it would be like. Flora shook her head. In practicing magic, everything has always gone smoothly for her, but when it comes to the course of love, she struggles. For her, it is really difficult to have abstract thoughts without a concrete goal. Ha ha ha. Flora looks silly. Ouroboros, who was eating and drinking, gleefully observed the couple. Oh, so that's what love feels like. Cassina the battle god listened with interest, munching on dried squid and lost in thought. So, roughly find a similar goal, sincerely imagine it, and unleash your creativity. She also hasn't taught anyone how to love, as it's not something that anyone can naturally master, right? I understand, senior. Flora nodded and pictures of several past subjects that she had reluctantly included in her research list appeared in her mind. The ancient god of wealth, in love with the earth giant in a mythological epic? No, that's someone who doesn't date the opposite sex, it just doesn't feel right. The elder fairy who seeks the truth, born from the fruit of the world tree, a miraculous creation. Looks are perfect, but always feels too indifferent, lacking something, and the gender is unclear. A dragon that has claimed countless treasures, attempting to collect itself as treasure? Too greedy, no sense of taste at all. After carefully rechecking the several targets she had considered in the past, Flora realized that she still couldn't accept them. If she could accept their flaws, she wouldn't still be unmarried. If you don't like something, you just don't like it. If you don't feel anything, you just don't feel anything. Even though these people meet her previous conditions, she couldn't feel any love or affection. In the end, it was just like what the senior said. The person you like, only you can understand, that's true love for oneself. In that case, compared to these goals, it seems there are better and closer goals out there. However, when imagining it, Flora courageously opened her eyes and gazed at the faceless god covering one eye. Not thinking about how much wealth there is. Not thinking about gender or race issues. only keeping the most necessary eternal and immortal and being able to spend the same time together, as well as the very important being gentle to oneself. Senior, it's okay if it's just imagination, right? For the first time, Flora's heart beats wildly, filled with a certain expectation and uneasiness. She had never felt this kind of emotion before. No wonder the senior said she always thinks too much, so she lost her way. There's no need to worry too much, even if it's just a hypothetical goal, it's fine. She still remembers his other first love, different from Hua. That figure always stood on the golden beach, as if forever watching over the icy blue silhouette of the towering tower. Hua was his childhood sweetheart in real life, and that figure was his dream lover. She used to think that it was just a beautiful fantasy of women in his dreams, a belief from his blurry teenage years. Until he truly met her and learned her true name and mission. Lilibet the guarding sky sword, the ancient sky sword that has been guarding the sky sword god's domain, the eternal guardian of the sky tower. So, senior, please temporarily be my practice target. Flora opened her cloak, revealing her sleek black hair and eyes with a dusk-like aura. This was also the first time she saw the true face of the great witch Flora, completely surpassing that intimidating weapon. Flora, with her oval face, had a surreal and stunning beauty. Especially those eyes, tinged with the colors of dusk, would make anyone tremble from the depths of their soul, as if they could be sucked in. Just by standing there, she could attract the tides of elements and magic, a phenomenon unique to the great witch at the peak of the witch god's domain, serving as proof of her magical origins. Thunk. She felt his heartbeat quicken slightly, especially when Flora approached him unconcerned, causing his heartbeat to accelerate even further. Oh my, her charm is absolutely irresistible. Even without magic, just her face alone would be a calamity for the nation, let alone the addition of that captivating weapon. She was undoubtedly a beauty with disastrous consequences. Such a woman, if she were in the mortal world, her fate would undoubtedly be intertwined with conspiracy, desire, and vile means, ending up as a tragic beauty. However, she is no ordinary mortal, but a great witch at the pinnacle of the witch god's domain, a transcendent existence of the legend ranked. Therefore, all tragic fates stay far away from her. She is entitled to pursue her own happiness, no matter what difficulties she faces. This outstanding great witch can overcome anything. Does he really have the qualifications to teach this great witch about love? For the first time, she began to doubt himself. Whispering the truth that she taught her, Flora realized how marvelous it all was. In the past, she was really foolish and didn't even notice such simple things. Her love life was her own destiny to decide, her own choice. Why was she bound by so many external rules? From a young age, she was taught that she had to find a partner who was even better than herself. As she grew up, this requirement became higher and higher. When she was still an apprentice witch, she actually received a lot of love letters, almost half a person's height every day. After she advanced to become an excellent witch, the number of love letters greatly decreased, but she still received dozens every day. After she became a great witch, there were no more love letters. Everyone looked at her with admiration, worship, and even willingness to die for her. Only one thing was missing, a feeling called romantic love. In the witch god's domain, the great witch is the supreme and miraculous embodiment of the essence of the witch god's domain. She didn't read any love letters because she spent all her time studying and learning magic. She even broke her eyes and wore big black-framed glasses. After reaching the advanced level of the legend ranked, her eyes transformed into magic eyes with special powers. They housed the great crow, which could travel through dimensions. When she looked back, her family had already disappeared in the river of time. She was very excellent, so excellent that she had surpassed her mentors and embarked on a path that no one else could guide. Putting down her convenient black-framed glasses and wearing a cloak symbolizing the Great Witch, she stood at the pinnacle of the witch god's domain. It was only then that she became curious and looked forward to her own love. She learned all about love from novels that she read when she happened to relax. She created very detailed criteria for her other half and went in search of such a person. The result was failure, failure, and more failure. She failed so much that she began to doubt her life, until she met a senior. Within the entire endless God's domain, finding someone who met her requirements seemed as if they didn't exist at all. Well, they really didn't exist. The senior used a mathematical model of two pyramids to clearly show her how wrong she had been in the past. The lover she was looking for never existed from the beginning. It was natural for her to be dissatisfied. Those unrealistic expectations now seemed strange to her. Even if a person like that really appears, would I definitely like them? Now Flora can tell herself that the person she likes might not be like that, it's just a too reasonable and too taken for granted fantasy. Following the method taught by the seniors, try to imagine what the person you truly like, who will make your heart flutter, looks like, starting from your own heart. What finally emerges is not some perfect, incredibly wealthy, stronger than God's ultimate fantasy. Senior, can you be my practice partner? It's not a ridiculous daydream. By giving up those external requirements, it can also be said that after returning to simplicity, Flora discovered that she had never encountered someone who treated her so gently. Well. She always felt that something was a bit off. Where did that initial cold, decisive, and straightforward person who could chase after Ouroboros without hesitation and confront his own teacher Cassina the battle god go? The girl in front of him, with flushed cheeks and bird-like eyes, seemed to have suddenly transformed from the terrifying great crow to a lovely little bird, making it impossible to resist being moved. No, staring at someone's big chest is inappropriate, okay? Calm down, Shi. She is a great witch from the witch god's domain, a legend-rank powerhouse equal to my teacher Cassina the battle god. Such a wonderful great witch, and your meeting point, this mysterious Red Heart Queen's masquerade, will be the only one in your lifetime. Chapter 1267, The Golden Glow. Yes. There will probably never be another chance to meet her again in the future, or even if we do meet, she would never recognize who we are. The disguise of this faceless god is the best camouflage. Thinking this way, Shi finally breathed a sigh of relief and started to thank the unknown and mysterious puppet maker. Without this divine vessel he created, Shi would have been in big trouble by now. As it turns out, even the legendary being in the rank of the legend is just as driven by curiosity as humans and completely immersed in it. Senior, how does it feel to be truly in love with 4 devoted lovers? After accepting her role, Great Witch Flora earnestly asked her great senior in her heart. This time it was Shi who couldn't find the words to say. Having 4 lovers sounds wonderful, but if they are all at the creator level and also have their eyes on you, it would truly be a nightmare within a nightmare. Just if, could I also be as happy as the senior if I fall in love with someone? Great Witch Flora didn't delve into it, she simply enjoyed this magical feeling with great innocence. In the past, she had never imagined what it feels like to truly be in love. But now, she seems to understand it somewhat. The sound of her heartbeat was like a little deer bouncing around. Her ears were turning red from the warmth. Her chest was feeling a bit breathless, but it wasn't an illness. In the legend ranked, there is no possibility of getting sick. Perhaps, this is a curse. Perhaps, this is an incurable disease. The curse of being lightheaded and uncontrollably in love, named love. If you truly love each other, then you can overcome all difficulties. Shi couldn't answer anything about his 4 ex-girlfriends, it's best not to even mention their names. The power of the creation level is so strong that it can distort even the laws of the universe. The Asher we saw last time only displayed a small part of their power through the medium of the incarnation. That is definitely not their entire power, just the tip of the iceberg. Yes, I also feel it. Flora completely believes in Shi's teachings, almost to a devout level. That way, it's true love. In the past, I didn't understand this, which is why I kept making mistakes. Senior, please teach me more about love. You finally understand. Shi felt a sense of relief, looking as if a young lady who knew nothing about the world finally learned common sense. At least, the current Flora is even more lovely and charming than before. Well, it's okay, if it's you there's definitely no problem. You're the amazing Great Witch Flora, born with incredible talents that make many people jealous. As long as you don't chase after unrealistic fantasies, and instead stay grounded while searching for your true love, you will definitely achieve the sweet rewards of victory. Look, at this very moment, you shine brightly and are more beautiful than before. Your feminine charm is captivating, even the gods would be enchanted by you. At least she himself thinks that Flora is extremely cute. That Flora has been fooled completely. Ouroboros, who loves to watch drama, commented on the couple nearby, laughing like a child. Love is just a biological impulse caused by physiology, it's not so sacred. When you see someone you like, just approach them happily and openly, that's the best way to mate. Well, we can't expect humans to conform to the love standards of fantasy species. You're really foolish. Do you have someone special you want to mate with? Cassina the battle god was a little envious of this naive snake at that moment. He drinks until he's drunk, then he sleeps, and when he wakes up, he continues drinking. He'll never experience the troubles of love or any worries with Ouroboros. The problems that Flora worries about simply don't exist with Ouroboros. Oh, isn't it just? Ouroboros gulped down a large glass of wine and shook his head. That adorable disciple of yours. After I licked him, I found the taste to be quite good. I was planning to tempt him, but that darn little guy interrupted. Muttering. It seemed that Ouroboros still held a grudge over that failed temptation. It was a shame that lasted a lifetime for the great and mysterious fortune teller. Ha ha ha. So you're a silly snake that likes to go after young grass. Cassina the battle god finally understood. This foolish snake had no morals, he probably didn't even know what morality meant. If you like someone, just go and confess. Why make it so complicated? Having a physical relationship with someone you like, it's a really comfortable and enjoyable thing. Our tail skills are really impressive. Ouroboros had a flushed face from drinking, but he didn't seem embarrassed at all. Well, in every sense, Ouroboros was indeed far superior to the novice in love, the Great Witch Flora. It was a state of greatness, like returning to simplicity. Even though she was still a virgin, Cassina the battle god effortlessly exposed Ouroboros' boastfulness. Some things, are innate abilities. Just like the great witches, chest, I also have innate abilities. Ouroboros proudly manipulated the tail behind her. Suddenly rolled up into an O, suddenly rolled up into a delta, a triangle shape. Suddenly rolled up into an infinity symbol. See, this is what innate ability looks like, something visible to the naked eye. Ouroboros confidently displayed her versatile tail in various poses with an expression that said, "You don't understand, do you? Wow, that's some innate ability you have there. Are you planning to use it to enchant my disciple's soul?" Cassina the battle god suppressed a laugh and continued to watch Ouroboros boast about herself. Yes, last time I was so close, just a little closer and I would have succeeded. In Ouroboros' memories, everything that happened back then had turned into beautiful recollections. She had passionate and lovey-dovey moments, full of cuddles and affection. If only that annoying little guy hadn't interfered, she would have definitely succeeded. Let's forgive this big Ouroboros who exaggerated his memories too much. Compared to the innocent relationship of the newbie group in Parato's disciples, this side is undoubtedly a very mature and forbidden adult group. Just as Ouroboros was proudly bragging about how he enchanted Yunshi with his tail, the deep red maple leaf door opened again. Countless golden rays of light, like a rising sun from the horizon, pierced through this strange gathering. Chapter 1268. The fifth participant, the fifth guest of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade is about to appear. Feeling the golden sunlight, which seemed like the beginning of everything, the four guests who arrived first turned their attention to the deep red maple leaf door that was about to open. This scent is a bit similar to Phoenix, sniffed the intoxicated Ouroboros, using his unique nerves to guess something. It's less mature than Phoenix, but it's stronger. Cassina the battle god's gaze became deep as she enjoyed her hero-ranked appetizer, grilled squid made from a certain kind of cephalopod. Some things are difficult to handle. This aura itself is not yet threatening her, but it seems to be protected by some special will. In the entire Endless Gods domain, there are not many beings that Cassina the battle god finds challenging, but there are some. Is this the aura of the sun god? Great Witch Flora made a very close guess. She had once seen one of the oldest deities in the Western Gods domain, the Persian sun god, who had countless followers. He was one of the most powerful sunwalkers in the Endless Gods domain. The power of the sun, this is. Yoon, she gaped as he looked at the approaching figure. He knew who this was. No one in the entire Endless Gods domain knew her better than him. But why was she invited to participate in this dangerous Red Heart Queen's masquerade? Oh my, she's just a child. Tiny wings pierced through the void of dimensions, then transformed into a human shape in front of the open maple leaf door of the ball. The person looked like they were only 7 or 8 years old, but their real age was unknown. They had a pair of sacred gold and red wings behind them, and they constantly emitted a breath similar to the origin of all things. I am the sun. The Golden Crow Princess, who had obtained special permission from inside the egg to run out, finally spread her wings freely and flew in the sky, joyfully shouting. She was as tall as Yunshi's waist, wearing a magnificent divine robe with a mix of gold and red. Every time she flapped her wings, it would release light spots similar to the essence of the sun, like a dream. She had a beautiful oval face, a straight nose, small and light red cherry lips, eyes that seemed to be burning with flames, and golden hair that was almost touching her ankles, crystal clear and extremely soft. It formed a perfect and beautiful face. Gold-threaded ornaments hung down from her ears, touching both sides of her lively little face. On her cheeks, there was an expression of pride, confidence, and unmatched holiness. That was the embodiment of the highest existence of all things, a tiny sun. In the middle of her gold and red wings, there were several blue gemstones embedded, emitting an aura that made Yunshi tremble with fear. He knew very well where those gemstones came from. They were crystallized by a field, even more powerful than the sun. Although it was someone who was friendliest to him among all the known creators, they were still a creator-level existence. Lord of Kunlun, the ruler of the entire Eastern Gods domain, Her Majesty the Queen Mother, Princess. Even though it didn't fall under the jurisdiction of the Eastern Gods domain, Ouroboros also shouted. She is the princess of Kunlun Gods domain. Cassina the battle god shook his head. This is troublesome, he can't fight this one. Great Witch Flora can fight, but not this little princess. Plus, with the obvious blessing of the Genesis crystal on her wings, she is invincible. The dangerous Red Heart Queen's masquerade is probably just like an amusement park for this little Golden Crow princess. She will definitely not be harmed. This is troublesome, it's simply cheating. Great Witch Flora remembered that time at the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, when someone cheated their way in with a stolen invitation. At first, she tried to pretend to be a harmless little white rabbit, hoping to use her wit to win the legend-ranked Dish legendary multi-headed dragon. The problem is, she is not that clever, and she couldn't defeat the other goddesses who were eyeing that blood so eagerly. The winner of that round was supposed to be Flora. As a result, she got frustrated and caused the biggest accident in the history of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade. It was known as the God-slaying Sky Sword murder case. After flying happily in the sky for a few hundred rounds, the excited Golden Crow Princess finally landed on the ground, curious about this and that. The wine here is good, although it's not as good as the one in Hydera, but the appetizers are delicious. Ouroboros has restored its true nature as a serpent. Anyway, she's not the one who will fight, and the ones who can fight are not her. She's only here to cheer for Cassina the battle god and shout 666 as a teammate. It would be a waste if she didn't take this opportunity to eat and drink to her heart's content. Snakes, on the other hand, are creatures that can eat and drink excessively, some even for several years without eating anything else. As the mighty Ouroboros, her innate abilities are even more powerful. She can feast and drink extravagantly for once, and then sleep for centuries, using it as a way to hide from debt collectors. Repaying debts is impossible, she can't pay them off in this lifetime. She can only continuously accumulate new debts and then run away, caught in a cycle of sleeping and waking. This is the fate of the magnificent Ouroboros. She is still too young, there's no chance of winning. After observing the actions of the little golden crow princess, Cassina the battle god made this judgment and continued to drink with Ouroboros, eating dried squid, waiting for the arrival of the last two guests. This is not a place for children to come, just avoid her. Great Witch Flora also made a similar judgment and continued to learn the basics of love from Yunxi. The little golden crow princess, who eagerly ran here, thinking it was a place for ladylike socializing, suddenly realized that the atmosphere here didn't quite suit her. On the right side, Cassina the battle god and Ouroboros were drinking and talking, sharing strange jokes that she couldn't understand at all. The group on the left, Yunxi and Great Witch Flora, are taking a basic course on teenage romance. This side feels better. The two older sisters drinking alcohol look very worn out. The Golden Crow Princess looked at Ouroboros, who came to the banquet only wearing pajamas, and Cassina the battle god, dressed as a dancer, and felt that something seemed off. On the other hand, Yunxi and Flora have enviable figures and faces. Even though the faceless god doesn't show much expression, there's something trustworthy about him. Don't come over here, it's very dangerous, little Golden Crow Princess. Now, Yunxi, who is being chased by 4 ex-girlfriends with tags saying this person must die, is extremely fearful of creator-level beings. Even if Queen Mother of the West is the kindest creator-level being he knows, it's best not to get involved with her, as it's too dangerous. Chapter 1269, Opening Flora's Wall Senior, What's Wrong? Flora was very perceptive and noticed that Yunxi was getting distracted. Because she constantly had her eyes on her senior, using him as her ideal romantic interest for studying was really effective. Even though her senior rarely showed expression, she could still sense his uneasiness from her subtle movements. Considering her senior's abilities and mindset, the only thing that made her uneasy at this ball was definitely that thing. Little lady, why did you want to come to this ball? It was her duty as a student to step up when her senior was in trouble, even if the other party had the protection of a creation existence. She had a way to protect her senior. Hello, big sisters. My mom told me to participate in more social events at the Legend Ranked, so she sent me here. The Golden Crow Princess curiously looked at the sword scar on Great Witch Flora's cheek and stated her own goal with the innocent gaze of a child. It's true that she can't hide anything at all, this innocence can be dangerous sometimes. Yunxi remembered the light furnace he received from the Golden Crow Princess, which couldn't be described with its value anymore. This gift is very precious, and he regrets taking such a divine-level gift from the young Golden Crow Princess. Being too friendly to people is a good thing, but if it's used by malicious people, it can lead to big mistakes, little princess. Yunxi knew he had no right to lecture. The Golden Crow Princess, protected by the Queen Mother of the West, could never be harmed. But seeing her innocent eyes and naive expression, he felt the urge to protect her. It's too early for you to be here, Yunxi gently reminded the little Golden Crow Princess. This is not the tea party she imagined, but a very dangerous situation. I have my mother's protection, I'm not afraid, the Golden Crow Princess pointed to the green gem on her wings. My mother will protect me, even if I encounter monsters. You're too naive, little princess. Yunxi looked at the few gems with the power of creation, tears streaming down his face. Such extravagant motherly love. Even though he had no knowledge of the legend-ranked field, he could feel the power contained within these green gems. It was like cheating. Okay, with his limited knowledge, he probably cannot understand the queen's loving heart. Also, even though she looks small, the Golden Crow Princess is a real legendary fantasy creature, much stronger than him, who is just pretending to be a legend-ranked. Senior, let's continue the lesson. Great Witch Flora calculated the power of those gemstones and reluctantly admitted that with the protection of these gemstones, the little princess of the Golden Crow is truly unbeatable. For her, this is a safe tea party, even the ruler of Nightmare World cannot harm her under the protection of the power of creation. However, the protection only makes the little princess herself nearly invincible. Flora has 100% confidence in easily defeating this princess in the dance competition. She is the undefeated champion of the Red Heart Queen's masquerade, except for that one time when the god-slaying Sky Sword disrupted the table and she didn't get the best reward. This dance party is no exception. She is confident in defeating all opponents and continuing her winning streak. Okay. Yunshi let out a sigh of relief knowing that the Golden Crow Princess has her own invincible aura. Senior, if I am encountering someone who makes my heart beat faster for the first time, how should I approach them and get to know them? Flora looked at Yunshi with a passionate and pounding heart, almost forgetting that this is still the Red Heart Queen's dance party. For her, the love course with her senior might be even more important than the ultimate reward of this dance party. First, naturally approach the other person, understand what they like and why they are worried. Yunshi diligently instructed Great Witch Flora, sharing his own story with his childhood sweetheart Hua Hua. If the other person is troubled, make an effort to reach out and help them, encouraging them. If the other person is happy, share in their happiness, and feel their joy. When someone shares their sadness, it becomes half. When someone shares their happiness, it doubles. What's important is to have the courage to approach and express your feelings. This was the experience Yunshi gained from interacting with his childhood sweetheart girls. In reality, he wasn't very skilled in relationships either, otherwise he wouldn't have hesitated for so long without confessing to Hua Hua. However, compared to Great Witch Flora, whose imagination was almost blank and couldn't even picture her own lover, he could still serve as this somewhat incompetent teacher. I see. Yes. I used to be so foolish. As the pinnacle of the witch god's domain, Great Witch Flora was definitely not a fool like Ouroboros, but a true super genius. In the past, she was just confused and didn't realize her feelings. But with Yunshi's help, she suddenly saw clearly and discovered a whole new world of her own. Yes, that's exactly how she felt, with her heart beating so fast. Who cares about conditions and wealth? Love doesn't have anything to do with them. The love of a great witch should be free and unrestrained. Race and background don't matter, what matters is the romantic feeling that the elders talked about. Close your eyes and imagine yourself running around like a little deer. Hold your breath and feel that warm feeling that makes your face blush and your heart warm. Even the simplest imagination can create huge ripples in your heart. Ah, how wonderful and magical. So this is what love is, what she and the other great witches all long for but can never obtain. Whether it's her or the other great witches, they have all closed off their own worlds. They turn one harsh condition after another into unbreakable walls, and then passively wait for someone to break through all these obstacles and come before them. Those who cannot break these obstacles don't even have the qualification to catch their attention. Being like this, they naturally can't see how beautiful the scenery is beyond the walls they have built. Flora opened her eyes, and as she meticulously recorded every word Yunshi said in her notebook, she looked at him with softer and sweeter eyes. Thank you, Elder. It's wonderful to have you beyond the walls. The first bread of the 1270th chapter, one more, love? Jinwoo Princess seems to understand the scene of the heartbeat to speed up the feeling of the wow, the small face is full of curiosity. Predecessors, can you give a little demonstration? It is the means to take the initiative to approach the people in your heart. The big witch Fushi looked at Yunshi with full expectation, and the little hand could not help but tremble. Oh, this is. Yunshi now feels that she is on a thief boat, but it is the thief ship he made himself. There is no way to escape, what is described is the helpless Yunshi at the moment. The big witch who teaches the witch domain loves something, this is not in the scope of the Star Trial mission. If there is such a spur mission, the difficulty is definitely several levels higher than the main mission. The quest for the squad to brush out the legendary monsters, what is this killing game? I want to protest. Well, the protest is invalid. Okay, then you can only bite the scalp. Recall that it was how to succeed with the fireworks. Yunshi, inside the core of the godless faceless, closes his eyes, revealing a dauntless expression that is as if he is dead. Isn't it the initiative to take the hand of a witch's demon big witch? The difficulty is similar to the mortal carrying the wax seal wings to the sunned boom. Boom. Why is this time, the heartbeat of the faceless will be so synchronized with his heartbeat, too nervous and too exciting? Obviously it is not a state of combat, but the synchronization rate is rising, and it can't stop. Boom. Boom. Fugera has never had such a heartbeat, and it is an incredible strange phenomenon for the dusk witch who has always fine-tuned her magic and even accurately crossed the gap. Near. Near. The predecessors are worthy of their predecessors. It is such a calm and unrelenting demonstration. This is the gap in experience. Presumably, the predecessors don't know how many times they have done similar actions. No, the heartbeat is too fast. Calm down, foolala. The predecessors only kindly taught you the course of love. Don't think too much. The predecessor's dream of being an imaginary love target is that the mouth can't be exposed. Ah, is that pair of eyebrows going to look like it? Do you want to make it to the end? On the other side of the table, the endo-serpent Ouroboros stared at the shyness of the side, and wanted to refuse the pair. I played a wine cellar. You are really straightforward, but I think this is also the feeling. Your divination is quite accurate. Fighting Cassina, but from the beginning to the end, watching the big witch Fu Lala how to fall. The expression of the little face was blushing, and even the sword marks on the cheeks were full of happy joy. I didn't write the words I am in love on my face. Only the palm-sized gold pineapple Tilda package exudes a seductive aroma. As the third bread in the Yunshi special bread storage, this mini gold pineapple Tilda bag has reached a magical field regardless of appearance or fragrance. Even the end of the meal group, the snakes Orotolos and the goddess Cassina, all looked over, revealing the expression of very want to eat. Ah! Fushi Ladren refused to bite the golden and delicious pineapple Tilda bag, and then showed the expression of crying. Good to eat. Too delicious. Even the legendary food that she has eaten can't be compared with this pineapple package, which is only about 4 steps. Because this is a mixture of love materials, is a gift given to her by her predecessors. Bite down, the sweet and sour pineapple flavor and the honey flavor are perfectly mixed, so that the taste buds of the tongue are blooming like fireworks. P.S. The 3 are still unbroken. Thank you for your ticket. The second is coming soon. The third is around 9 o'clock in the evening, and then the explosion starts at 12 o'clock. Chapter 1271 is not the same bread, 2 more. Opposite the dance party group, the endo-serpent, Ouroboros, licked his tongue and asked the soldiers who were waiting to deliver the dishes and pre-dinners, "Is there still that bread? Give me 10. Sorry, distinguished guests, that's not the food we made, but if you want to eat bread, we can make it right away. Look at the 1 wool 3 Chinese net." The teacup soldiers looked at the pair opposite the meal group, shake his head. Then come 10 breads like that. I smell the taste of pineapple and honey, so I can still play a dozen. Ouroboros, the tail snake, grinned and looked at the lips that were licking his lips. You really don't hide it. I am still playing a dozen. Fighting Cassina shrugged his nose, and the excellent perception made her feel as if she could smell the golden pineapple. Soon, the 2 dozens of gold-colored pineapples that looked like the pineapple packs that Yunshi had brought out were sent by the teacup soldiers. Even the legendary food can be made by the Red Heart Dance Food Chef Group, making the same level, but the 4th order gold pineapple Tilda package is effortless. They are the magical chefs who have the power of the nightmare world. No, it's not this taste. The snake, Ouroboros, ate one and immediately began to shake his head. It's totally wrong. Sweet is sweet, but it's not the kind of sweetness I just smelled. The material is not right, and the time of fermentation is also problematic. Fighting Cassina is also shaking his head. This is not a subtle gap, but a completely different flavor. If you give a good score to the food, the golden pineapple made by the Nightmare Gourmet Chef will be able to score full marks in the 4th stage. It may even be better than Yunshi's pineapple package in adding magic and vitality. But Yunshi's golden pineapple Tilda bag has its own unique taste. It is wonderful to let the snaketail Ouroboros, the of Cassina is not the same. The Nightmare Gourmet Chef's pineapple can pack 100%, but it is only a mass production type that is produced according to a certain recipe. Yunchi's pineapple tilde package effect may only play 99 points, but it has a unique special taste. From the point of view of the magic food, it is the victory of the Nightmare Gourmet Chef, and from the variety of pineapple tilde bag, Yunchi's side is better to eat and more drooling. Predecessors, this is great. Feel the sweet and sour taste left in the tip of his tongue, and the elements contained in it called love, the big which Fu Lala vowed never to eat this life. Delicious bread. Even the legendary foods that she had eaten with special abilities were eclipsed in front of this little mini pineapple. It was the only bread in the world that made her feel so cried. If you like it, when you are in a bad mood, you can think about the taste of the present. Whoever is unhappy, but the past is over, we have to look forward. The past can't be changed. What we can change is now, and the future. The big bleeding used the top 3 treasures in the inventory. Yunchi can only comfort himself, as long as the bread is to be eaten, it is not a waste to use it now. At least, I can see the great big witch Fu Lala happy to the cute expression of cheeks. If this Red Queen dance is really dangerous, at least she will not become her own enemy. If you think about it, you can use the rare single-digit bread. After all, with the level of the big witch Fu La, what kind of hero food has not been eaten? Probably even the legendary food can often eat. I also want to have such a loaf of bread in the big sister. I use feathers to change. Princess Jinwoo stared at her little lips and looked at Yunchi with a look of eagerness. The bread, it looks very delicious, and I don't know why. Princess Jinwoo and the endoscopic snake or Otelos, like Cassina, have a kind of must-eat after seeing the bread. The inexplicable impulse. It is a pity that Fu Xia's mouth is too fast, and Princess Jinwoo, the serpent or Otelos, and the of Cassina are all one step late. It turns out that this is really a very regrettable thing. No, only this one. Yunchi answered very honestly, the single-digit bread is the the third-ranked mini gold pineapple tilde after the package is gone, it takes about a long time to appear again. From the advanced hero rank baker to the present, the single-digit bread in the Yunchi bread store has also experienced this wonderful change in the top 3. Now the 3rd place is used up. When the gold butter bread that was upgraded from the 4th place to the 3rd place will become a mini gold pineapple package, Yunchi himself is not allowed. He is a baker without any inheritance, and the knowledge about the hero rank baker is close to 0. What changes will happen to your own special bread storage? Why the bread stored inside is more delicious? He is completely confused. What other hero rank bakers look like? He knows nothing, and thinks that the repository of all hero rank bakers is like this. Ah! Princess Jinwoo was disappointed. Hey! The snake, Ouroboros, bite the normal version of the golden pineapple package, which is equally frustrating. Resistance. Fighting Cassina puts all the bread on his plate aside. Since you can't eat the special mini pineapple tilde bag, then these pineapples tilde package will be tasteless. It is better not to eat. To drink, drink the best wine. To eat, eat the best food. Predecessors, thank you so much, such precious food, I will remember it all my life. The big witch Fu Layla hurry to the remaining breadcrumbs in his mouth. This taste is the focus, the treasure that is to be written on the most important page of the witch notebook. The encounter with the seniors is really wonderful. I know what I didn't know in the past. I ate bread that I had never eaten before. Feel the world that you have never imagined before. Every minute, every second becomes vivid. As long as you are with your predecessors, you have the courage to change. Already, nothing is terrible. This Red Heart Queen dance party will definitely win you. Whether it is the snake serpent Ouroboros, or the of Cassina, the little princess sheltered by the Western Queen Mother, she must win cleanliness. Let them know the huge gap in strength. Oh, it's just a piece of bread, don't care too much. Since the beginning of Yunchi, I found that after I took out the bread and let it be eaten, the surrounding atmosphere suddenly became wrong. P.S. The 2nd is more, the 3rd in the evening, there will be an outbreak in the early morning. Thank you for the recommendation ticket and the monthly ticket. I hope that the college entrance examination friends have good results. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.